tenacious. He'll latch onto you and he won't let go.
He's not afraid to. Rough side draft.
Oh, no. He don't care which side that car he gets his own nut on.
Greg Biffle continues to be the point man, the leader of this race.
Top of that wheel, he gets everything out of that race car every single lap it's on the racetrack. Biffle better make hay while the sun's shining.
Good run for Biffle today. Good, strong, solid, championship contending kind of run.
Really aggressive right now. They know the importance of getting in the lead right now. He's figured out the fine line there between aggressive and too aggressive.
And Greg Biffle wins his first NASCAR Busch Series race.
Welcome to the Stacker 2 pre-race show presented by Stacker 2.
The city of Nashville, Tennessee has a long relationship with NASCAR racing going back to 1958. This morning we had showers, but the sun is out now, 73 degrees. We're getting set to go racing at the new Nashville Superspeedway. The winner of this race last year in the inaugural event was Greg Biffle, that guy right here. But he's going to start from near the rear of the field because there he is in that number 60 car. He bobbles there, qualifying into the wall hard. Greg Biffle will start from the 37th position here today at the Nashville Superspeedway. There you see the damage to the right side of that number 60 car. They rolled it into the garage, rolled the backup off the trailer, and that's why Greg Biffle will start from the rear of the field. He led 133 laps last year. Right now, he's standing by with our Matt Yoakum.
And Steve, Greg Biffle talking to rookie pole sitter Shane Meal. And first off, you're at the back in a backup car. How difficult to get to the front here?
Well, it's going to be pretty difficult. I was just telling Shane, I hope he holds the field up a little bit for me and give me a chance to get up there and race with him. No, the Granger Ford's good. The guys pulled out the second car, and it's a really good car, and I'm pretty confident about it. And, you know, we were decent in happy hours, so I think it'll take a little time for us to get up there, but hopefully we can avoid some of the situations and get up there at the end.
Now, you were joking around with Jack Sprague, hoping he would help start to work in a second groove. How long will it take before a second groove comes in?
I don't know if he's trying to get me to get up there and try it or what, but he said, you know, the second grooves are probably not bad. I go, probably. I'll let you get up there and you tell me how it is.
Well, he certainly knows how to get around this racetrack. In fact, Nashville's a special place for Greg Biffle. It's the site of his first career Busch Series victory 1 year ago tomorrow. Now to Mark Garrow.
You know, to win on the Busch Series, you have to be pretty fast, you have to be pretty smart, and you have to be pretty lucky. Jeff Purvis, does that just about sum up Bruco Motorsports and your effort last week in winning at Texas?
Well, it really does. We're excited for Timberwolf. You know, they've been with this sport a long time, and they deserve to win some races, and hopefully we can do that this year. They've been in position many times and just didn't work out, but you know, everybody at Bruco is excited, and I was excited myself, but I know Timberwolf, they had to be excited.
How about 2 in a row?
We're going to get going better than what we practiced. We wanted to test here, and we never had a chance, and that's not really an excuse, but we've made a lot of changes. Hopefully we can get Timberwolf back up there again today.
Now let's go high atop the Nashville Superspeedway. Steve Burns and Larry McReynolds.
Thank you very much, Mark. You know, Larry Mack, we're fired up for this race, but for the Busch Series drivers, this is race number 7. 2 men, 2 racers, Jeff Green and Jeff Burton, have led 60% of the laps. They're not here today.
Well, we've seen some great Busch Series races the first part of this season, but this is the first standalone Busch race. The Bushwhackers, they're in Martinsville. The only Winston Cup driver that's here is Stacy Compton, but remember, he's running all the races of both series. But with Jeff Green missing, remember, he's the points leader. We will leave here with a new points leader. In second through about 7th, Jack Sprague to Mike McLaughlin in the points, separated by only a mere 100 points. It's early, but everybody wants to leave Nashville with the points lead.
And won't it be fun to watch Greg Biffle come from the back of the pack?
Oh, I can't wait. It's exciting to watch him start at the front. I can't imagine starting at the back.
Well, we've got a lot more in the Stacker 2 pre-race show. You're watching NASCAR Busch Series Racing on FX. Jamie McMurray, Kevin Grubb, ready to get the job done. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the Stacker 2 pre-race show.
It's a beautiful afternoon here in Nashville, Tennessee at the new Superspeedway. It's year number 2 for this race. Let's take a look at the point standings in the NASCAR Busch Series. As Larry Mack said, Jeff Green not here today. The top 7 drivers separated by just 111 points. You see Johnny Sauter there 10th. His older brother Jay making his first start of the year, and he's with our Matt Yoakum.
Steve, last year the 21 team almost finished top 5 in car owner points with 7 different drivers. This year, only 2 drivers. The second driver on the card is Jay Sauter. This is your first start in this car. You've got to be so jacked up today.
I'm telling you what, we're really fired up. The Rockwell Automation Chevy has been good all weekend long. Everybody from Richard Childers, we've got great motors and great people. Car was pretty good in happy hour, qualified pretty well. Old Jeff Green's put a lot of pressure on me, so we're going to have to perform today.
Well, the one constant this year has been the letter J. In 6 races this year, we've had 3 Jeffs, a Jason, and 1 Junior. Jay's hoping to add a Jay Sauter to the victory list this year. Steve?
All right, thanks a lot, Matt. Now, when we think about concrete, we think about that guy, Jason Keller, in the 57 car. He has 34 races on concrete with 2 wins. Look at the laps led, 266 laps. He loves concrete, and he's standing by with our Mark Garrow.
Steve, those are some amazing numbers, and I've got a sneaking suspicion it's because he has a secret test track. I'm going to guess that if we went to your home in Greenville, South Carolina, we'd find a cement round driveway.
We do, but that's usually Joe and Jade's test track with their little hot rods. But concrete tracks have been really good to me, and yesterday in qualifying we had a pretty good Albertsons Ford, but happy hour wasn't too happy, so we made a lot of changes. Hopefully we made the right changes.
How about it, a second win of the year, 3rd win on concrete today?
That's what we're hoping for. That's what we came here for. Sure would like to take that Gibson guitar back to Greenville, South Carolina. But, you know, it's a tough racetrack. It's going to be a long race. Don't really have a lot of rubber down on it, so it's going to be tough going into turn 1 on the outside. But, you know, I've never claimed to be too smart, so we'll see what happens.
Back to Steve Burns.
Thanks a lot, Mark. When we came here last year for our inaugural race, the driver said turn 2 was like white lightning. It was so quick. So we sent Larry McReynolds down to the track to see what the track did.
Well, thanks, Steve. I'm standing over in turn 2 where a year ago when the Busch cars were here, lots of problems. There was a big bump, plus it was very slick. The racetrack had no grip whatsoever over here. Since we raced here a year ago, the IRL cars raced here. They could not deal with that bump as low as they run to the ground. What the racetrack did, they came in here with a big grinder. This is how it used to be, very slick and smooth, and they ground this out right here. It made it flat, plus this ground out area gave it much more grip. Now with more grip, the speeds are a lot faster. Let's listen to what some of the drivers have to say, and while you're listening, I'm going to run over to turn 4 where another problem has broke out.
I mean, overall, it's a nice facility. Last year, being our first year here, the track was real dirty. You got out of the groove, and you were pretty much in trouble.
The bump over in 1 that everybody's complaining about, it's gone this year. They filed that down, and the track's just a whole lot smoother. The track feels like it's got a lot more grip. Last year, you just slide all over the place.
The biggest thing is going to be a lot faster. The racetrack's picked up about half a second from last year.
Turns 1 and 2 are fairly consistent because it's ground all the way through, you know, where they smoothen it for the bumps, so the texture of the track is the same. Going into 3 feels decent, but then coming out of 4, there's some spots that aren't ground, and it's slick like it was last year, and so it's somewhat inconsistent.
There's a spot when you come out of 4, depending on where your line is or whatever, if you'll have the wheels cut left and it just takes off going straight to the wall. It's just kind of a slick spot. Don't know exactly where it's at. It's there, though. You'll find it if you want to.
Ah, made it. As you heard Stedman Marlin, they're happy with turn 2, but turn 4 seems to be the trouble spot. They did not grind this part of the racetrack. Very smooth, very slick, not much grip whatsoever. Now, it's going to be interesting to see if this part of the racetrack causes a problem for the drivers, the speeds they're carrying in here in turn 4. So yesterday, as you heard earlier, Greg Biffle actually wrecked right here on his qualifying lap. So I don't know, Steve. Not much grip, pretty slick. I believe it'll be safer in the booth with you.
Larry Mack set a record. He went from turn 2 to turn 4 in 45 seconds. It's not slick in the booth. We promised you that. We'll be back with more of the Stacker 2 pre-race show on FX.
Thank you. Shauna, Bobby, Mike, and Darrell Worley at the Grand Ole Opry. See what you get when you come to the Opry.
Welcome back to the Nashville Superspeedway. One driver hoping to have a big hit here in Nashville is Jack Sprague. He's with Matt Yoakum.
Steve second in points, hoping to score his first career win, second last week at Texas. Do you feel like this could be the day, Jack?
Well, I tell you, I mean, I feel like we've got as good a shot as anybody. The guys are giving me a great Net Zero Chevrolet. We're getting closer, man. We're getting it figured out. I got to thank everybody at Hendrick Motorsports for building me some great stuff, great motors, great cars, and Dennis and the whole crew, and the GMAC crew also. I mean, we're getting closer, and we had a real good happy hour. I think we ended up second. Car feels real good. We may have a shot at it.
He's hoping to pull a Greg Biffle, score his first career win here at Nashville. Mark?
He's driving the Team Marine Ford. Bobby Hamilton, everybody has told me this week you've been walking around like a drill sergeant from Camp Lejeune, barking that you're going to take names and kick butt when you get to Nashville. That true?
We're trying. The Marines Ford is awful fast here, man. We qualified fourth. We got as quick as in happy hour, and the car stayed great under me for 20 or 30 laps, and that goes back to Fred Wanke. You know, his truck finished second here last year, about won that thing, and you can't do no wrong in this car. Now, I mean, I'm just so tickled to death to have a car like this. It's like on a Sunday drive, so we're looking forward to the race.
Bobby, certainly the hometown favorite, and he is probably going to win. He's already got his orders. Back to Steve.
All right, thanks, Mark. Well, after 300 miles of racing here at the Nashville Superspeedway, we're going to head to Martinsville for 500 laps there. Let's go to Mike Joy.
Qualifying for Sunday's race at Martinsville was really entertaining as drivers tried to get all there was out of their car and then more. Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s first lap, quick enough to put him on the pole for the moment, but his second lap, he hopped the curb in turn 3 and spun the car. Bill Elliott had a great first lap. His second would have put him on the pole, but he ran out of room coming off turn 4 and found the concrete. Bobby Hamilton got up on the top spot, but then Jeff Gordon, who had only practiced 25th fastest, had a late draw and used it with his second lap to sit on the pole for his 8th time on a short track and his 2nd time at Martinsville. Dick Berggren.
Finishing the race on Sunday is at the headline of everyone's agenda. This is a very, very difficult racetrack. It averages 14 caution flags per event. At least over the last 2 years it has. Now, Gordon's got 38 races in a row where he has finished. He has finished every Martinsville race that he has ever run. But this is one tough place. Easy to get in the wall, easy to get into each other, easy to bend the race cars up, but it's a fun race to watch.
It will be for sure. Now, Jeff Hammond, we know how tough Martinsville is on brakes and how tough it is on sheet metal. You throw most of that car in the dumpster at the end of the day. But how tough is it on that relationship that's built between the driver and the crew chief when he wants to go hard and you need him to hold something in reserve?
Mike, I tell you, that's the toughest thing about this place right here, folks. When you get in that race, you start telling the driver immediately, stay off the brakes, save your brakes. And for long, they call you back and say, quit telling me that, I'm doing it. But they'll forget. Trust me, they'll forget because they get caught up in the emotion of this racetrack. This racetrack brings out a lot of emotion, just like a lot of short tracks, so you got to be careful, but you got to coach early to stay there long.
Well, you'll see the Winston Cup race tomorrow right here on FX. Let's go back to Nashville and Steve Burns.
Thanks, Mike. NASCAR racing across the Fox networks continues next on FX. With Winston Cup practice from Martinsville on Sunday. Start your race day with NASCAR this morning, presented by Smirnoff Ice on Fox Sports Net, followed by Winston Cup Racing presented by Yamaha on FX. Then get the full wrap-up of all the day's action in Elliott Sadler's weekend with NASCAR Victory Lane All Access on Fox Sports Net. Don't miss a single week of NASCAR action. If you don't have FX, call 1-800-FX-FX-FX1. Love Martinsville. They call it the paper clip. It's 2 drag strips.
And if you can't get by them, you just bump them out of the way. But I'm just wondering, can Jeff Gordon get that first win since Kansas City in September? He's used to running good at Martinsville, and he's used to winning.
Well, we're getting closer to starting the Pepsi 300 here at the Nashville Superspeedway. You're watching NASCAR Busch Series Racing on FX.
The Stacker 2 pre-race show has been presented by Stacker 2.
And on Friday, rookie Shane Meal set a new track record to win his first career Busch Series pole. And Shane, you've got such a stout race car, but how difficult to be patient all day here.
It's probably going to be tough. There's a lot of good cars behind me. But we proved it Friday we got a good car too. And even yesterday in happy hour, we weren't too bad. But I'm going to try to lead the first lap and then sit and ride, and hopefully we'll be there at the end and put this Thomas Piccone Classic Chevrolet in victory lane.
Shea Meal looking for his first career win and looking to be the 5th driver in the last 13 months to score their first Busch Series victory. To Mark Garrow.
Right behind him in row number 2, another rookie, Scott Riggs. But the last time he raced at Nashville, the Craftsman Truck Series, he won the pole, only led 131 of the 150 laps to win. Scott, is that going to be a pretty tough act to follow?
Well, you know, with such a good series like the Busch Series, there's a lot of competition here, and it's going to be a long race. And you know, we got a good car, the Nesquik Ford Taurus. All the guys work awful hard and give me good cars. And Harold Hawley made some good decisions and really learned a lot this weekend and implemented those changes into the car before today's race. And I think we'll be pretty good. You know, we need to be patient and need to be there at the last. That's the main thing.
Back to Steve Burns.
All right, thanks, Mark. Larry Mack, I saw some young faces up there at the front. Shane Meal, 21 years old.
I mean, the first 3 rows, with the exception of Jason Keller, it was all about youth. But qualifying yesterday, running over 160 miles an hour, youth, not a lot of experience needed, just letting it hang out for that one qualifying lap. But today, 225 laps, every corner you have to hit your marks. Experience could prevail.
You know what's coming up next, don't you?
The race, and crank it up.
Crank it up.
All right.
We're about to go racing here at the Nashville Superspeedway. You're watching NASCAR Busch Series Racing on FX. Welcome back to the Nashville Superspeedway. We had rain this morning, but it's a beautiful day. It's time to go trackside for our pre-race festivities.
Ladies and gentlemen, we would ask now that you please stand and join us this afternoon for our invocation. Returning our invocation tonight is Pastor Robert Spickard of the Hamilton Chapel Methodist Church in Gladeville.
Pray with us. Our Father, we ask that you would invoke your spirit this evening and be here in this speedway with these race drivers. We pray, Father, that you would extend your right arm of strength, that they would be able to drive across the victory line this evening in safety. See us safely, Father, as fans back to our destinations. And do it in the name of Jesus as we pray. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, we ask that you please remain standing as we present the colors of the United States of America from the United States Marine Corps. With our national anthem today, ladies and gentlemen, Darrell Worley.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Start your engine!
The command has been given. 43 drivers at the ready. We're getting set for 300 miles, 225 laps of great racing at the Nashville Superspeedway. Come to Nashville, you got to be ready to rock and roll.
7,500 cubic yards of concrete. Let's go, guys.
Have a good belt time.
Yes.
300 miles. 225 laps.
Get in a hurry, get impatient, you'll wind up in the wall.
They got a block, they got them cocked, and folks are coming down the line. They're ready to rock.
We are now ready to go racing. All right, it's almost time to go racing. Steve Burns, Larry McReynolds, Matt Yoakum, and Mark Garrow with you. Let's take a look at our Castrol starting lineup. 21-year-old Shane Meal on the pole, Larry Mack.
Yeah, see, he did rip a lap yesterday, 161.44 miles per hour on a 1.3 mile racetrack, and that's average speed.
And 11 drivers broke the track record set last year by Kevin Harvick.
That's not unusual. Every time we come back to a racetrack a second time, whether it's concrete or asphalt, a little more grip, more rubber on the racetrack.
Tim Sauter, one of 3 Sauter brothers in today's race. Just the second time all 3 Sauter brothers have raced against each other. Kenny Wallace, the only driver to complete every lap this season, Larry.
And he was good and fast in happy hour yesterday. A lot of teams talking about him. See Chad Chafin there in the 16 car. We're going to have 6 cars total go to the rear of the field. Chad Chafin and Scott Wimmer, they'll have to go because of going to a backup car after wrecking in happy hour. Derek Cope and Dion Ciccarelli, they had an unapproved engine change, and Stacy Compton made it from Martinsville, practiced a little bit there this morning. Mike Chase qualified his car, but he'll have to go to the rear of the field as well, along with Greg Biffle, who wrecked in qualifying.
And it's going to be fun watching Greg Biffle come from that 37th starting position. As we said at the top of the broadcast, he led 133 laps here a year ago, Larry.
He definitely spanked them a year ago, Ed. That race car was good from the drop of the green flag, and I can't believe that Randy Goss, his crew chief in that group, that the car they've unloaded out of that trailer, backup car, it'll be just as good as what he had unloaded on Friday.
Let's take a look at our Dr. Scholl's race analysis, brought to you by Dr. Scholl's. 225 laps, Larry, 300 miles.
And the pit window, 65 to 70 laps, that will be for fuel, but they will be watching the tire wear. But as more rubber gets down, that tire wear should get better. 73 degrees air temperature. Clouds are looking better and better. The concrete surface, track temperature, 86.3 degrees. Concrete is not near as temperature sensitive as asphalt. The racetrack don't change that much over the course of the event.
Dr. Scholl's, look, feel, do better. Larry, I heard a great explanation about concrete. It's like walk on your driveway, then walk in the street as we look at our in-car cameras. Johnny Sauter, the number 2 car. Jay Sauter in the 21. Just about set to go racing. There's Kenny Wallace, 48 car, on board with him. Number 57, that'll be Jason Keller. He's going to give us a great look on this concrete.
Yes, he will. Always runs well. For whatever reason, it just suits his style of driving. There you see Stacy Compton. He'll have to start at the rear of the field. But, yeah, if you just walk on your driveway, if it's concrete, and then you walk out on the street that's asphalt, definitely the concrete will not be as hot as asphalt in the heat of the summer, and probably not as cool in the dead of winter. It's just not as temperature sensitive.
Greg Biffle getting those tires warmed up. The light is off, the pace car. That means we're just about set to go racing. Pace car down on pit road.
All right, man, I'm going to tell you one more time, pull them belts tight. I think let's get this party started in Nashville, Tennessee. Let's go.
Starter holding back the pole sitter Shane Meal, just 21 years old. Green flag, we're underway at the Nashville Superspeedway.
Even though there's some rubber up in that second groove, you're going to want to see these cars get to the bottom of the racetrack. That's where the most grip is, the most tire rubber. Jason Keller falls in behind Shane Mill. A lot of experience shown there. He knows this is a long race. No sense in pushing the envelope on the outside this early.
Jason Keller and his teammate Scott Briggs in that yellow number 10 right behind him.
These cars ran identical times in qualifying because Jason Keller's higher in points. He started second. Scott Riggs started third. Looks like we pretty much have a clean first lap.
Shane Meal in the 47 is your leader as you look out the back of Jason Keller's car at his teammate Scott Riggs.
Shane's never competed in the Busch Series here in Nashville. They've only had one race since this racetrack was built a year ago, but he did compete in a Goodies Dash race a year ago, but didn't have a lot of luck at engine failure.
And Larry, we should mention, for those who may not know, as Jason Keller looks to the inside of Shane Meal, he wants to lead. Shane Meal's father, Steve Meal, who's the technical director at Dale Earnhardt Incorporated.
And he did, Jason Keller did lead that lap. He'll get those 5 bonus points for leading the lap. Matt Yoakum.
Larry Mack. Hey. That's exactly what his spotter and father, Steve Meal, told him. Shane, you got your 5 bonus points. Now just settle back into that seat and get your rhythm, and let's go all day long.
Well, he's following the master at concrete. He's getting an education that you can't put a price on right there, following Jason Keller around this racetrack.
This is only the second race that Jason Keller has led this year. The other was at Rockingham, which he won. Keller starting to pull away a little bit from Meal. Trouble, the 95 car. Stedman Marlin in trouble. Everybody seems to make it by. Don't know if Stedman hit anything, but caution will come out.
They still have not thrown the caution yet, though. They're going to give him a chance to get going there. I believe we're going to stay green.
I stand corrected. They are going to stay green. Larry, understand the black flag is being shown to the 34 car. Jason White for being too slow. We have a replay here of Marlin underneath the 60.
Well, he's down there in the bottom. Looked like his car got a little bit loose, and being on the inside of that car, that makes the tail of the car want to come around and even make you looser, and it just comes around on him. Real lucky. Stacy Compton just gets through.
But again, no caution. Greg Biffle was right next to Sterling, or Stedman Marlin, I should say. Sterling is his dad.
And Biffle has already made it up to the 25th position. We've only ran 5 laps. He's got a good race car. He just needs to show some patience here.
Made up 12 positions already.
Pulls up on the back of Kerry Earnhardt, Terry Bradshaw on car, the 12 car there.
Terry Bradshaw with a very enthusiastic start your engines, Bob.
I think Terry Bradshaw's enthusiastic when he does his laundry.
The 14, that's Larry Foyt alongside Scott Riggs in the 10. That's a battle for the 4th position. Riggs able to shut the door on Foyt for now. The 21, that's Jay Sauter just behind Riggs. Sauter running in the 6th position.
Jay making that first start in that 21 car.
And you know, Larry, I was talking to Butch Hilton, the crew chief on that car. He says that that team, the Richard Childress Racing team, they want to win the owner's title. They'll have 2 different drivers. Jeff Green will run about 21 races. Jay Sauter will run the other one.
And what we have to remember, when a car finishes a race and gets points, we got a battle for second right here between Shane Mill, Bobby Hamilton Jr. is you get the same amount of points. The owner gets the same amount of points as the driver gets. And Butch Hilton told me the same thing this morning. He said, we would love to win an owner championship, because that basically says we're champions with 2 different drivers.
Shane Meal in the 47. He was the pole sitter. The 25, Bobby Hamilton Jr., the son of Bobby Hamilton, who will be a favorite tomorrow at Martinsville.
Starting on the outside pole, Bobby Hamilton Jr. showing a lot of patience here. He's just trying to see where Shane Meal in the 47 car, where he may have a weakness. He don't want to push that envelope, get trapped on the outside coming off the corner here, get up there where there's not a lot of grip right now.
Bobby Hamilton Jr. in that 25 car had a good run here last year, led some laps, but didn't finish the day well.
You see, run a little bit lower off the corner, but Shane Mill, he's running a little bit higher off the corner, keeps the RPMs up, keeps that motor running. Bobby Hamilton wants to get to the inside. He wants to beat him to turn 1, but Shane Mill shuts the door on him. But I believe Bobby Hamilton Jr. is going to take the position here in the middle of 1 and 2.
Larry, I think that's indicative of how much more grip there is at this racetrack. They would not have attempted that move last year to go too wide.
Absolutely not. By the time you got to the entrance of each corner, you wanted to make sure you were single file.
There's our leader, Jason Keller. We've completed 9 of 300 laps. 225 laps, that is, here at the Nashville Superspeedway. Welcome back to the Nashville Superspeedway. The 57, Jason Keller, continuing to lead after 14 of 225 laps. It's the Pepsi 300. Let's take a look at Greg Biffle, Larry. As we mentioned, he had to drop to the rear of the fields. The 37th position after wrecking in qualifying. He's up to 20th.
But the further he goes, the harder it's going to get. Those first 10 or 15 cars was pretty easy to get by, but he has to be patient. I know Randy Goss, his crew chief, telling Greg Biffle to be patient. It's like telling a bulldog not to bark. He's just, you know, he's got to take these cars one at a time.
Jay Sauter in the 21, making the move to the bottom of Larry Foyt in the 14.
And what Jack Sprague in the 24, he wants to get up there. He wants to take advantage of Jay Sauter opening the door here where he can take the position from Larry Ford as well. Close the door on him.
Riding with Jay Sauter in the 21, making his first start in that car. But Larry, he tested down here.
He tested here. He's done a lot of testing for Richard Childress Racing. Actually tested Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s car at Talladega over the winter. He has been their test pilot all winter long.
And crew chief Butch Hilton told me he's one of the most valuable members of the entire Richard Childress Racing team because of all the testing he does on the Winston Cup and Busch side.
He gives great feedback there. You see Jack Sprague in the 24 car. He was trying to get to the bottom of Jay Sauter in the 21. Meanwhile, bringing Hank Parker Jr. in the 36 with him, Mike McLaughlin as well. We have a caution on the speedway. I believe we may have a little rain shower.
Don't say that word, Larry. Don't say rain after what we went through in Texas.
Okay. Moisture.
Liquid sunshine.
There you go. Just a little clearing shower.
Yeah, just there you go. Just a little shower. We're not going to use the R word. Jason Keller is your leader. Shane Meal, the pole sitter, led the first lap. Keller has led since then. And Larry, I'm going to be honest. I don't even see any rain, so this is going to be a slight delay. I'm optimistic.
That's it. Like I say, just Dick Beatty used to tell us with the Cup director, just a little clearing shower, boys. Get your cars ready. We need to mention also here at lap 18 that we have 4 cars behind the wall. Dion Ciccarelli in the 84, Jimmy Kitchens in the 52, Jason White in the 34, and Brian Weber in the 8 car. They're trying to make repairs, and also Mike Harmon made an unscheduled green flag stop in the 44.
Larry, as I said, 3 Sauter brothers in the race today. There's Johnny Sauter, the youngest in the 2 car. That's also a Richard Childress car. Might be something brewing there. How about it, Mark Garrow?
Well, there just might be. Perhaps the only folks happy about this yellow might be the AC Delco Chevy team. Ricky Byers is the crew chief for Johnny Sauter. He radioed in the water temp up to 240. You worried about that?
Actually, it's 220. It's not too bad. Right now, it just gives us a good opportunity to get some tires on it, see where we're at. Right now, the car's pretty good, so this early caution will help us get to the front. Johnny's doing a great job. We'll see what happens here with this rain. We've had quite a bit of rain here in the last couple of weeks.
He's battling the flu. How's he feel?
He's feeling a lot better right now, and also we'd like to say hello to Lucy Mackey. Hope she gets feeling well real soon, too, from AC Delco. And
all right, Ricky, thank you very much. Apparently not as big a problem as we thought for the 2 car, but it is going to give them a chance to cool down that motor. And as perhaps you can see, the rain is really starting to come down now here on pit road.
All right, thanks, Mark. 23-year-old Johnny Sauter's a rookie. The fans don't mind. They don't care about the rain. As Larry said, it's just a clearing shower. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Nashville Superspeedway. We're under caution for the first time today. Just a brief rain shower. Keep it on FX right now. Hey, Larry Mack, how about some trivia?
Oh, I don't have no help up here.
Hang on now.
DW's not here.
Here we go. Here's today's Pep Boys trivia question. Who was the last driver to win his first career Busch Series race in his first start?
Last driver to win his first career Busch Series.
I asked you first.
I know, but I'm repeating the question.
You're buying time. You're stalling.
See, I'm the great Cognac. I have no idea.
Don't say Greg Biffle. He won in his 10th start here a year ago. You give up?
I'm going to give up.
Let's see. You need a hint?
Need a hint.
No, don't you peek.
I give up.
Oh, he gives. Here's the answer. Terry Labonte at Charlotte in 1985.
I would still be guessing at the end of the race. I don't believe I'd ever guess Terry Labonte. But how about Terry Labonte over in Martinsville? New race car, qualified 4th for the Mars race.
And you know who his car owner was when he won that Busch Series race? Trivia question. Pep Boys.
Would it have been my partner in crime, possibly?
Well, that depends who your partner is.
My partner in crime is DW.
Yes, indeed. Stacy Compton in the 59 car. Mark Garrow has more on Stacy.
Well, Stevie was able to make a little progress early on in this race, but the car began to push. And remember, he came here today without one lap in this race car. Mike Chase qualified it. Tim Fedowa, of course, a veteran driver. He practiced the car yesterday in the final practice. The car very, very tight. This time when they came in, they raised the track bar. They took a little bit of wedge out, also made a tire pressure adjustment as well. But it is pushing like a freight train right now for Stacy Compton.
All right, thanks, Mark. Appreciate the update. Stacy Compton with 2 top 10 finishes in that 59 car. We're going to take a break. It's NASCAR Busch Series racing on FX from the Nashville Superspeedway. Welcome back to the Nashville Superspeedway. Steve Burns, Larry McReynolds, Matt Yoakum, and Mark Garrow with you for 225 laps, 300 miles. Under caution for a rain shower. Caution was unfurled on lap 19. There's 24, the Jack Sprague 3-time Truck Series champion. And you know, Larry, interesting thing, they've had a tremendous season. Only one finish outside the top 10. 3-time Truck Series champion, trying to win his first Busch Series race. And he and crew chief Dennis Connors think they finally have it figured out.
I talked to Dennis Connors, his crew chief, who was actually his crew chief in the Truck Series. And yeah, 5 out of 6 races. I mean, they've had a good season, second in the points. But they ran the truck race here a year ago, the only truck race that's been run here at Nashville Superspeedway. And he had a good truck. And right at the beginning of the race, the coil wire that goes through the firewall burned in 2. By the time they was able to fix it, he was 10 laps down. He made 2 of those laps up, so he had a good truck. And I said, Dennis, so have you been able to translate some of that information from the Truck Series to this Busch car? He started shaking his head no immediately. He said, Larry, that's what had us in trouble the beginning of this season. The trucks are so different from the Busch cars aerodynamically. We were trying to run a lot of the truck setups, and it was not working. He said, I think right after the Texas test, when we tested there, we figured it out. I think they backed it up last week at Texas, finished second, but had the dominant car.
Absolutely. Jack Sprague, second in points in that 24 car. You know, you can win a trip to a NASCAR race when you call collect with 1-800-CALL-ATT. That's 1-800-CALL-ATT, and you can win a trip to a NASCAR race when you call collect. You know, Larry, following up on Jack Sprague, he said yesterday after qualifying that he had the car to sit on the pole, but he overdrove it. He took full responsibility for not sitting on the pole, but that's, as you said, how good he feels about where he is now in the Busch Series.
Well, he has that confidence right now. In this place, yeah, it's about speed, but 160-something miles an hour, this is definitely a place where you can overdrive your race car and slow down a bunch by doing it.
Jason Keller is not overdriving his race car. He's been the leader since lap 2, and Matt Yoakum has more on Keller. Matt?
And Steve, down here in the Albertsons pit, Jason's been talking to his crew chief, Steve Addington, on and off under this caution, talking about their race car. Remember last year here at Nashville, they finished second to Greg Biffle, who, by the way, is up to 18th. They're talking about the fact they made a lot of changes after the final practice session. Now, you made a lot of changes. Have those changes helped your race car today?
Yeah, he says it's. He said the Albertsons Ford's a little bit better than it was yesterday. Still a little bit tight, but we'll adjust on it as the day goes on.
What adjustments are you looking at for your first pit stop, and when will that happen, Steve?
We can go to lap 75, but probably a little bit of wedge and some air pressure.
Remember, they finished second here last year. They really wanted to come back and get a win they felt like they deserved last year, guys.
All right, thanks very much, Matt. Now, Jason Keller comes in here 5th in points, Larry. It's hard to believe he has 260 career starts. He wants to win that first NASCAR Busch Series title, but he's only 31 years old.
I mean, he's been knocking on the door for the last 2 or 3 years, you know, finishing second, finishing third. And I think they came into this year with the optimism that this could be the year that it could all come together. Still missing a little consistency, but I think they're getting closer every week we race.
Let's check in now with Mark Garrow, who has more on the 60 car. Mark?
Well, we're up on the war wagon for Greg Biffle. The ladder just about went out. Randy Goss is the crew chief. Randy, he's moved up to the 18th spot. What is Greg saying about the race car?
Well, we're trying to pick our way through here without knocking the fenders off it, but the weather's kind of throwing a curveball at us, so we're trying to keep track of
you know, the first time we could come and still make it past halfway for fuel, and talk to him about the chassis a little bit. So we're just kind of on hold, I guess.
But it must be pretty good though if he's moved up that quickly.
It's decent. It's probably doing about good enough laps to get up to 4th. I don't know if we got anything past that right yet.
Steve?
All right, thanks very much, Mark. You're just joining us under caution. The caution came out on lap 19 for a brief rain shower.
Look right here at the 2 car. We heard their temperature was running up. You see they have a lot of tape on that front end. You heard the crew chief Steve Addington for Jason Keller talk about the cars pushing. That's going to be the nature of the beast of this place. And the way you increase the car to turn is more front end tape. That increases that front downforce. But you see those yellow pieces of tape up there? What those are, those little pull tabs. If that temperature don't cool down on a pit stop, they'll have to reach up there and pull some of that tape off. You don't want to pull too much off because, again, every piece of tape is going to cost you a little bit of front downforce, but you can't sit out there and let the motor run warm either.
Larry Mack, I love working with you because you never cool down. You have no pull tabs.
Maybe it's Hammond gave me some of that stacker too. I don't know what it is.
We'll be right back at the Nashville Superspeedway. NASCAR Busch Series racing on FX. Welcome back to the Nashville Superspeedway. Let's catch you up on what's happened early in the race. Stedman Marlin in the 95 spins, no caution. Greg Biffle making a charge to the front, start at 37th. He's inside the top 20, but then you see rain. Caution flag came out on lap 19. Jason Keller is the leader in the 57 car. Just the second race that he's led this year. We talked about the Sauter brothers. There's 3 of them in the race today. 21, that's Jay Sauter. He's 39 years old. Tim is 37. Johnny is 23. This is the first time they've raced against each other in a Busch Series race, and Matt Yoakum has more on the Sauters.
Well, Steve, you documented the fact that for the Sauter family, this is a historical day. All 3 brothers are in the same Busch race together. But I talked to Will Lynn, who heads up the Busch Series program at RCR. He told me that they're actually thinking about trying to field a 4th car at some point this year. Remember, they do help out Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Kevin Harvick with a 3rd car. They're looking at maybe bringing out another car for 59-year-old Jim Sauter, so the father can race with all 3 sons, possibly at Milwaukee. One other note from the RCR stable: you heard Ricky Vyers mention Lucy Mackey. Now, what the story there is, Lucy is the wife of Scott Mackey, who's the general manager of the AC Delco division, the GM SPO International division. Well, they had the highest of highs this past week. She gave birth to their first child. Then the bad news came. Doctors diagnosed her at the same time as having cancer. So now they have the best of best having their new child, but now she's got a long fight ahead. The Mackeys are great friends to racing, but just more importantly, they're great friends. So Lucy, hang in there. And both the Sauter cars have "We Love Lucy" decals, and Lucy, we do indeed love you.
All right, thanks a lot, Matt. Great story. We hope Lucy does well. And you know, the Sauters, Larry, their father, Matt mentioned Jim Sauter. He raced Winston Cup for a while, came from Wisconsin where he was a short track legend, still tests IROC cars to this day.
Him and Dave Marcus, they do all the testing of the IROC cars for Jay Signor and that group at the 4 different racetracks. And, you know, I've talked to Jay about Jim Sauter and Dave Marcus as well, who does a lot of the testing for him. And they said both those guys, Jim in particular, just give such great feedback, and you can depend on them to go out there and make consistent runs where they can analyze the changes they're making.
And Tim Sauter, there he is in the 19 car, ASA champion. I believe he won it in 1999. Tim Sauter told me that their father made them build race cars. They had to know every nut and bolt on a race car. Didn't help them out financially. I mean, helped them out with encouragement, but they had to know every nut and bolt on a race car before they could drive one.
And I think that's becoming so important because as close as this competition is, you can't just come in and tell your crew chief anymore, well, I don't know what it's doing, you just need to fix it, or I think it's loose. You have to know what it's doing, and you even need to share some feedback with him what you think it's going to take to fix it, because we're no longer hunting, you know, seconds or half seconds. We're hunting tenths and half of tenths of seconds around these racetracks.
Larry, Tim Sauter in the 19, I'll tell you how dedicated he is. When he won the ASA championship a couple years ago, he told me at the 5th race of the year, he said, Steve, I'm kind of tired. I said, why is that? Timmy said, well, I've drove the team transporter down here. And at that time, the team was based in Canada. He drove it all the way to Montgomery, Alabama. That's dedication.
Boy, that's what you call dedication. You know, talk about Casey Mears and his pit crew. I talked to Clyde McLeod, who is the general manager for Casey Mears, the 66, and as well as Hank Parker Jr. in the 36. And he was telling me about their gas man on the 66, Mike Murphy. He's been gassing his car. This is his 4th year. He is a prison guard from South Carolina. But this is, and there you see Mike right there, this is his last race of the season this year. He won't be back the next year because on Monday he's going to have extensive back surgery. So, Mike, we wish you well. We'll look forward to seeing you back in 2003.
All right, thanks a lot, Larry. Casey Mears, young driver in that 66 car. We're under caution. Caution came out on lap 19. We had a brief rain shower. We've had 13, now make it 14 caution laps.
And we need to note during these cautions that a lot of cars at the back of the pack has elected to come onto pit road, especially cars that had to go to backup cars, and like Stacy Compton, as we documented, that didn't get any practice. But Chad Chafin in a backup car, Scott Wimmer in backup cars, they were on pit road. Jamie McMurray, Jeff Purvis, Stedman Marlin, Derek Cope, a lot of these cars, Brad Baker, electing to come to pit road, try to make some adjustments since they were at the back of the pack anyhow.
Well, when we get this race in, and we will, we're heading to Martinsville. NASCAR racing across the Fox networks continues next on FX with Winston Cup practice from Martinsville on Sunday. Start your race day with NASCAR this morning, presented by Smirnoff Ice on Fox Sports Net, followed by Winston Cup Racing, presented by Yamaha on FX. Then get the full wrap-up of all the day's action and Elliott Sadler's weekend with NASCAR Victory Lane All Access on Fox Sports Net. Don't miss a single week of NASCAR on FX. Well, we continue to have this race run under caution, but we're going to get it in here on FX. Look at that, Larry Mack. A full crowd, a full house. Nobody has left the Nashville Superspeedway because we're going racing.
And what I like, yes, the skies are lightening up just a little bit. How about, speaking of racing, how about our buddy DW over in Martinsville? You know, though, I told him yesterday, I said, you're a triple dipper. You run the Craftsman Truck Series race. You're here, he is getting ready to practice Stacy Compton, the 14 car, plus he's going to be on FX with the Winston Cup race tomorrow. That's right. Out there practicing, final practice, shaking Stacy's car down for him. Stacy on his way over here. Uh-oh.
He's struggling to get out, Larry.
Oh, my gosh. He needs a stacker 2 guy. That's what he needs.
Or a shoehorn 1.
Got to go boogity, boogity, boogity.
He's having way too much fun.
He looks good in that driver's uniform.
Oh, boy. Our driver, buddy.
Yeah. And Matt Yoakum, who I believe he's AMS certified. I'm not sure. He took a class in weather forecasting at Florida State, says no more rain.
And I believe Matt Yoakum.
Yes, sir. We're still under caution. Caution came out on lap 19 for a brief rain shower. Jason Keller took the lead on lap number 2 from our pole sitter, Shane Meal. 37 laps on the board. 48. As I mentioned, Larry, Kenny Wallace is the only driver of 26 who have competed in every single race this year to run every single lap.
And that's what will win you championships, being there at the end and completing every lap. Now, these guys changing tires. It's a 225-lap race. We're under caution. They only have 3 sets of tires that they can change under caution. So that means Kenny right now would only have 2 sets left.
Kenny Wallace heads back out of the racetrack. There's Bobby Hamilton Jr. in the 25 car. Mark Garrett, what's going on with them?
Bobby Hamilton has been racing for his supper for quite some time. I ran into him and his father last week, and they told me a very interesting story. Back, of course, when they ran the old Fairgrounds racetrack, Bobby ran a Mini Modified back in '93. He was about 13 or 14 years old. Now, his father was the '91 Winston Cup Rookie of the Year. In '92, got fired, and by '93 was almost broke. And he was trying to build a new house. He was trading out, you put in bricks on my house, I'll build you an engine kind of thing. And for Bobby was sent out to the racetrack to make money for groceries. He ran a Mini Modified. He won 19 of 31 races. He'd make $175 for winning. They take $40 out to get him back to the racetrack next week, take the rest of the money to literally put food on the table. So if you had a bad week, it was cheese and bologna. If you had a good week, steak and potatoes.
That's a great story. Thanks, Mark. Speaking of cheese and bologna, DW tells a good story. The first time he ran a Winston Cup race at the old Nashville Fairgrounds, it was the longest race he'd ever run. He came in for a pit stop. Stevie, his wife, stepped across pit road and handed him a sandwich. He was embarrassed, so he threw it down on the racetrack when they finished the service, and then he said he spent the whole rest of the race being worried about her because he hurt her feelings.
And he was thinking about that sandwich.
That's right. You know he wanted to eat it. Oh, Steve Burns, Larry McReynolds, Mark Garrow, Matt Yoakum, and the entire Fox Racing team with you here from the Nashville Superspeedway. We've run the last 20 laps under caution because of a rain shower, but the sun is out.
Todd Bodine in the 92 car last time by, he made a pit stop. Looked like they just made an adjustment on the car. Jeff Purvis in the 37's back on pit road, but they definitely topped it off with fuel because we ran 20 caution laps since the caution came out on lap 17, and I think a good formula here would be 2 caution laps is equal to 1 green lap, so that would be like 10 green laps you're getting. There you see Jeff Purvis in the 37. They're just going to top him off, not changing any tires, just a little splash of gas. And strategy, of course, won the Texas race for these guys last week. Terry Shirley, his crew chief, making that call for 2 tires at the end of the race, and he got the lead from Jack Sprague when the bottom fell out.
Hey, Larry, funny thing about Jeff Purvis, his best finish prior to Texas was 18th.
But nobody knows that anymore.
No.
He won Texas.
No, it says W in the win column. We're just about set to go back racing. We'll take this opportunity to do some business. From the Nashville Superspeedway, it's NASCAR Busch Series Racing on FX. The need for speed. What about it, Matt?
Steve, last week at Texas, it was a big day when the 37 team went to victory lane for the first time. A big day for Ken Christensen. He was an original member of the Bruco Motorsports team, and he's a rear tire changer on this 37 car. But the biggest day of all, it's every day since September 13th of 2001. That's when his father, Tom Christensen, from Central City, Kentucky, a retired veteran from the Korean War, went in for surgery. He didn't have open heart surgery like most people do. He got an ABACOR heart, which is a self-contained heart. He is now on his 212th day, a record for having a self-contained heart. And they feel like if everything goes well, on Tuesday, he will be able to go home for the very first time. So happy birthday. His 71st birthday came March 16th, and every day seems like a birthday to both Tom and his son, Ken. Mark?
Well, Randy LaJoie's team has chosen a very simple strategy. Randy, do what the 57 and the 24, Jason Keller and Jack Sprague do. They come down pit road, you follow, they don't, you stay out, and of course, they decided to stay out, which gives you an indication just how good Randy LaJoie feels his car is. He's going to stick with those 2 guys throughout the afternoon. Back to Steve.
All right, thanks, Mark. Just about ready to go back to racing. Caution came out on lap 19. 42 laps have been completed.
Just real quickly, a couple of cars in the top 10 elected to come in and top off with fuel. That'd be Bobby Hamilton Jr. He went from 2nd to 33rd. Tony Raines went from 10th to 36th. What they'll gain on this, everybody that stayed out will have to pit as we get the green flag. They'll have to pit around 75 to 80. These guys probably will be able to go to lap 110. The downside of that strategy is you're starting so far back, get yourself in trouble if you're not careful.
I understand the strategy, Larry, but boy, it's tough to give up that track position to get back in the pack.
Yes, it is. You get back there, your car won't turn back there in that traffic, and you can get yourself in trouble.
All right, let's reset the leaders. Jason Keller in the 57 is your leader, followed by Shane Meal in the 47, Scott Riggs in the 10, Larry Foyt in the 14, Jack Sprague in the 24, green wide, Jay Sauter in the 21.
Boy, Hank Parker Jr. in the 36, he drove under Jay Sauter in 3 and 4. Jay Sauter got real loose up the racetrack. He's recovered here, though. He's up in that 2nd groove. Hank Parker working on that quarter panel right there, trying to make him a little bit loose, trying to bring Mike McLaughlin in the 18 with him.
On board with Jay Sauter in the 21, Hank Parker Jr. there in the 36. Looking on the inside, Parker hasn't had a win since California last June.
Now he's come to life. Matt Yoakum was telling me while we were at break that his rev limiter before that caution, which is a box that's hooked in the ignition system, and you put a chip in it, which basically will start cutting cylinders off if you're turning too many RPMs. It was going off way too early. They have 2 ignition systems. They flipped it over to the other ignition system. It has a separate ignition box. Looks like it's come to life here.
Larry, look there. Scott Briggs in that 10 car. Jason Keller's teammate. He's taken the second position away from Shane Meal. Boy, Sauter and Parker just going at it. Mikey McLaughlin, the 18, right behind him.
This is a battle for about 6 to about 11.
Ashton Lewis in the 46, that white and red car. He's a part of that. Johnny Sauter in the 2, just behind them. Jason Keller continues to lead. Johnny Sauter on board with Johnny, that blue deuce. The green car, the MB&A car just ahead. That's Mike McLaughlin. McLaughlin in the 8th position. Ashton Lewis in the 46 in the 9th position.
I'm just so impressed with this side-by-side racing. We wouldn't even think about seeing this a year ago. But you see Jay Sauter in that 21 running that second groove. He don't maybe have quite the grip. He looks like he's going to have to get behind Hank Parker Jr. But Mike McLaughlin in the 18 pulls up underneath him. Just don't have quite the grip in that second groove up on the exit of the corner.
Mike McLaughlin 18th a week ago, but second at Bristol. Johnny Sauter, you're riding on board with him. He's 10th in points. The rookie in that number 2 car. Ah, now we have brothers, the 21 and the 2, and that 60 car's up in there, Larry.
In 12th position from dead last to 12th. Boy, they got Jay Sauter in that 21 all the way up out of the groove that time. But in 40-something laps and a half, I'm under caution. He's to 12th place, Greg Biffle.
Saw the 5 car there. That's Ron Hornaday Jr. He's filling in for Ricky Hendrick. Ashton Lewis in the 46. He's an engineering graduate of Old Dominion University. His brother Charlie is the crew chief.
See Randy LaJoy up there in that 7 car. Those guys came up here and tested, and he actually won the last race that they ran at the old Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway 2 years ago.
Randy LaJoy coming in here with 2 consecutive 7th place finishes.
In 190 consecutive Busch starts, it goes all the way back to February of '96.
Randy LaJoy, a 2-time Busch Series champion, won the championship in 1996 and 1997. Larry Foyt in the 14. 24, Jack Sprague.
And all of a sudden, Larry Foyt, John Wolf is crew chief, that 14 car. These guys have come to life. Good run at Texas, good run top 10 back at Rockingham. I talked to John Wolf, his crew chief, this morning. Said, Larry, we were really good in happy hour. And what they did, because of the weather threatening yesterday before qualifying, they spent about 2/3 of their practice before qualifying working on race runs.
And Larry, as we watch Larry Foyt in the 14 Sprague to the bottom side, he's going to get that position. Larry Foyt said, I didn't even think my qualifying lap was that good, and he started this race fifth.
I think it's because he didn't overdrive his race car. It didn't feel fast.
Foyt in the 5th position. Jack Sprague in that 24. Rides 4th. Jason Keller continues to lead. There's Jason in the 57 car. You know, Larry, Jason Keller told me at Texas last week, amidst the rain showers,
which we had plenty of to talk about during that time.
Yeah, you know, we talk about changes to race cars. You know, they're running these motors, or they're running Robert Yates motors, but, you know, they've got this body design. They're running these springs, these shocks. Jason Keller said the biggest change they've made is his mental attitude.
Well, when you're running up front, it will change your mental attitude. And I'll tell you another thing. We talked about these 2 cars running Yates motors. They're pulling lower gears in most of these teams, turning more RPMs. But look, you saw Hank Parker Jr. there in the 36. I think Matt Yoakum could tell us a little bit about what's going on with him.
Well, Larry, you documented earlier about the fact that Hank Parker Jr. had to switch to his backup box. And Winston Cup Racing, Jeff Gordon has been known to not have a rev chip in his second ignition box. And Gary Cogswell, the crew chief for Hank Parker Jr., does the same for Hank in his 36 machine. So Hank is going to have to be very careful on restarts and leaving pit road because he does not have a rev chip in that second ignition box.
And again, what the rev limiter chip does, it can serve 2 purposes, especially on fresh tires when you're out there in the draft. It can keep you from turning too many RPMs at the end of the straightaway. Also, and I used it a lot with Mike Skinner, a driver that wants to drive the car too deep in the corner, it's kind of a device, it starts going off, it's like, oh, I'm too deep, I need to back off the throttle.
I even understand that now, Larry.
Very good. That's what it's all about, making everybody understand.
Jason Keller continues to lead here at the Nashville Superspeedway. He's followed by Scott Riggs, Shane Meal, Jack Sprague, and Larry Point. Under caution for the second time today, Greg Biffle. We watched him charge from the back. He has made heavy contact with the wall on the front stretch. There you see the number 60. Heavy damage to the left side. Let's go to Mark Garrow.
Just before that accident, Greg Biffle's crew chief had radioed into him, or Biffle had said the car's too tight. Let's go to Matt.
And the 57 car, his crew is already on the left side. He's a little bit tight in the center of the corner, but he told his crew chief, Steve Addington, don't loosen me up too much because it will hurt me on entry. And he beats the 24 car off pit road, but he will not beat everyone off pit road.
All right, now let's take a look at what happened to Greg Biffle in that 60 car. That's LaJoie in the 7, the 46 Ashton Lewis just behind them.
Well, just like he slid up in front of Randy LaJoie, got loose. Randy may have got in back of him just a little bit, hard into that outside wall right here at the start-finish line.
Let's take a look from the in-car.
You watch his hands. Watch his hands. That'll tell the tale. There you see, turning back right, chasing it. Turn it hard to the right. Working that wheel, but oh, hard in the wall.
So caution out for the second time today for Greg Biffle. Won this race a year ago. An accident on lap 57 for the 60 car. You're watching NASCAR Busch Series Racing on FX. We'll be back here at the Nashville Superspeedway. Big crowd on hand, loving it. Welcome back to the Nashville Superspeedway. Tim Sauter is the leader in the 19. Larry Mack, he pitted on lap 38.
Yeah, we have all kinds of different agendas, and we knew this was what was going to happen if the caution came out too many laps after that. As pace cars off, we're going to go 1 to go. Actually, Jay Sauter won the, we're going green flag racing this time. Jay Sauter in the 21, he won the battle off pit road of the cars that took 4 tires. We had some cars like Jamie McMurray, Kenny Wallace, Scott Wimmer changed 2 tires. Green flag, lap 62.
All right, green flag out. Tim Sauter, the 19, is your leader. 54, Kevin Grubb to the outside of him. The 33, Tony Raines in 3rd.
All these cars, Tony Raines included, they pitted during that caution period before we went back racing during the rain time.
Sauter to the low side, Grubb to the high side. You know, when this season started, Kevin Grubb was looking for a job. He didn't have a ride, Larry.
Now he has a full-time job, and I think Mark Garrow is with Greg Biffle, who brought this last caution out.
Right now, Greg, what happened? Well, I'm not really sure what happened. I couldn't see behind me, but got my rear tires up off the ground coming off the 4. Not sure what happened. I got to watch the replay, but I don't know. I have a feeling it might be the same guy that got me turned around at Daytona. I'll have to watch the tape.
You made a lot of progress in a very short amount of time.
Yeah, I think we're up to 10th or something like that. We had a car that probably could win today, and we thought we had a good pit strategy going that maybe put 2 tires on and ratchet ourselves up, but it didn't look like we're going to have to do that, so we'd be able to race with heads up, but didn't get the chance to do that.
Larry, when he said his rear tires were off the ground, I think he's implying that somebody put them in the air.
And yeah, and we saw in the replay that Randy LaJoie was behind him. I think when Greg Biffle, there's no question when Greg Biffle slid up in front of him, that yes, Randy LaJoie definitely got into it.
Jack Sprague in the 24.
It's a battle for 9th. Scott Wimmer in the 23 and Jason Keller, the first car out there in line that has 4 fresh tires.
Scott Wimmer qualified in the 11th position, but hit the wall on the 2nd lap of happy hour practice yesterday.
And they got this car out there in practice in happy hour, but his crew chief told me it was not that prepared to go out there. All they did is go out there and make sure nothing was leaking. Jason
Keller looks to the inside of Wimmer in that blue and white number 57, the outlet car. Gets by Wimmer. Keller in the 10th position right now. Wimmer is 11th. Taking a look at Jack Sprague in the 24. Jack is in the 9th position.
these cars run right around the bottom of the racetrack. When you have free racetrack there with racing nobody, that's the fastest way around the Nashville Superspeedway, right around the bottom.
Ooh, there's a pack of them. Let's go to Matt Yocum.
Steve, rookie Shane Meal, the pole sitter, having a smart drive today in the 47 car. His crew chief, Jerry Cannon. How is your car, Jerry?
Well, it was tight before we made that pit stop. We made a couple adjustments with the track bar and the spring rubbers. He's driving the wheels off of it as usual. You know, we're trying to hold him back, but he's wanting to go real bad.
Well, he restarted in the 21st position, made his way all the way up to 18.
When I look at Jared Kennan, he's to me one of the unsung heroes of the Busch Series. I mean, he was Sam Ard's crew chief 25 years ago when Sam Ard was back there winning those, at that time called Busch National Championship. Now he's having a lot of fun with Kenny Wallace and with Shane Mill.
48 car, Kenny Wallace, he got out of the gas, it looked like. The 24 and the 57 went right by.
Looked like he was way too high to get in the corner, and he realized it before he got there. And the best thing he could do is let those guys go by and then fall in behind them before they got all the way down into the corner. But I tell you, I'm watching this Kevin Grubb up there in that 54 car. He got that track position, and he's done pulled out to about a 4-second lead over the guys back there battling like Jason Keller and Jack Sprague.
You know, I mentioned Larry a year ago, he drove the 37 car. As we take a look at the differential between the leader and the second place car of Tim Sauter, Kevin Grubb drove that 37 car. He was released at the end of the season. He didn't even make or didn't even attempt to make the first 2 races of this year.
But this car is out of Bristol, Tennessee, and this team is a team that at one time Harry Gant drove for. And you'll know the gentleman I'm talking about that owns, I think, this race car.
Ed Whitaker.
Ed Whitaker. Right now he's out there, we talk about this so much at all these races, clean air. He's getting maximum front downforce on that car. He's not having to deal with traffic, and he's out there driving away from these boys.
Jack Sprague in the 24. 3-time NASCAR Truck Series champion in the 6th position. Out the windshield of Jason Keller. Keller in the position just behind Sprague. Keller led a lot of the early laps here. Kevin Grubb still the leader. Jack Sprague is 6th. Keller in the 57 just behind Sprague. There's your leader, Kevin Grubb, in the 54 car.
And you know, we really thought, I think, that those guys that had been leading this race, Jason Keller, Jack Sprague, and Jay Sauter, they would run this group right back down. But right now, Kevin Grubb's coming off of turn 4. He's at the start. This is a reference we'll use start-finish line now. And Jason Keller is just now at the start-finish line now. So he's put a good half a straightaway on Jason Keller and those guys that was leading this race before that last caution.
Kevin Grubb finished 12th at Bristol, but ran as high as 2nd late in the race. That was his best finish of the year, 12th. Kevin Grubb continues to lead. He's followed by Tim Sauter, Tony Raines, Jack Sprague, and Stedman Marlin. Kevin Grubb continues to lead the Pepsi 300 here at the Nashville Superspeedway. He turns 24 years old on the 19th of April, trying to get an early birthday present. The defending race winner, Greg Biffle, had a tough day, Larry Mack.
Yes, he has. This was earlier in the race right here on the bottom side of Jeff Purvis in the 37. Moving his way to the front. Randy LaJoie, look, that 7 car right there looks like a little contact. That was back on lap 47. This was on lap 57 right here. Slides up in front of Randy LaJoie. Randy LaJoie gets into him. Greg Biffle just can't recover hard in the outside wall. And that was just today. That don't even count the wreck in qualifying yesterday.
And we have caution again. Ashton Lewis in the number 46 car. Lap 79, caution flies for the 3rd time. So Greg Biffle not the only one having a tough day. And Larry, Ashton Lewis, we see smoke on the left side, and the right side. he had moved up into the top 10 for a while.
Yes, and he was able to stay on the lead lap, but they've got to come to pit road. A lot of damage on that race car, and the big problem right now going around here trying to get caught up to the fields, that right front tire rubbing so hard could blow out.
Let's see what happened, Larry Mack.
This is going through 3 and 4. It's like he got a little help from
looks like the 36 of Hank Parker
Jr. Slides around, almost corrected. He's going to turn back hard there, hard in the outside wall. A lot of damage to that front end. Again, what his goal is right here, right now, is trying to stay on that lead lap, get to pit road, see if they can get repairs made and stay on the lead lap. But that's gonna be quite a chore, as much damage as he has to that front end.
Yeah, tough break for Ashton Lewis, as you see there. One top 10 finish this season. He finished 8th at Rockingham, had a good run going. You see the Civil Air Patrol, the sponsor on that 46 car. Larry, that's a family-run team. His brother Charlie is a crew chief. His dad's involved with the team. This sponsor helped these guys tremendously. They've added employees. You see Kevin Grubb, the leader, to pit road.
Now remember, these guys, it's been a while since they were on pit road, lap 38, so they've run almost 40-something laps. Kevin Grubb, Jamie McMurray in the 27, Stacy Compton, Tim Sauter in the 19. So now all those guys up there leading, they didn't really need this caution.
Let's go to Mark Garrow.
Well, Tim Sauter's team had planned to bring him in on lap 111 prior to that caution flag. He said the car's pretty good. Remember, this week a brand new crew chief, Bobby McKeefe. He comes over from the Robbie Reiser, Matt Kenseth Busch Series team. He knows these cars very well. Alec Pinsino, who owns this team, bought the Chevrolets for his operation from Robbie Reiser. So McKeefe, even though he's a new crew chief, he knows these cars. He knows this specific car very, very well. And obviously, they've got it pretty well dialed in early on in this race.
And Larry, Mark Garrow just mentioned Alec Pinsino. Alec Pinsino is from Canada, a businessman from up there. Tim Sauter won the ASA, that's the American Speed Association Championship, in 1999, driving for Pinsino. His younger brother Johnny also won the ASA Championship driving for Pinsino, and they moved their operation to Mooresville, North Carolina. Tim Sauter now driving that team.
And you might say, looking out at Johnny Sauter's car right here, he won the championship and Rookie of the Year in the same year in ASA.
Won 10 races. Meanwhile, the 21 of Jay Sauter, the oldest of the 3 Sauter brothers today. Matt Yoakum's in his pit. What's going on, Matty?
Well, Steve, they've climbed from 21st up to 17th, and Butch Hilton trying to win back-to-back wins. Butch, how is your race car?
I'm afraid I've done a really bad job all weekend on the Rockwell Automation Chevy with the gear selection. I think we've missed it again today. We thought we were going to be better with what we had, and it just didn't seem to work out. A lot of guys turning a lot of RPM. You can hear the rev chips popping here at the end of the straightaway. So we're just going to have to do our homework a little better when we come back. Hopefully we'll get a good finish out of it.
Now, what you mean by missed it again today, you felt like you chose the wrong gear for qualifying, too.
Yeah, I sure did. Probably cost Jay a shot at the pole there, and just not doing a good job this weekend on the gear selection. I'm going to try to do better.
Still a lot of laps left, Steve Burns.
And I think what Butch Hilton's talking about there was a big variety of gears in the garage area this morning, from people running 400s as low as a 422. Remember, the higher number is a lower gear, and I think they didn't anticipate maybe the race pace slowing down, and when it slows down, you need a lower gear to turn more RPMs because the speed's down.
And Butch really felt like they had a shot to win this race. They tested down here, as you said earlier, Larry Mack, and he said that Jay Sauter had crushed the track record. 11 drivers, we mentioned earlier, 11 drivers broke the track record set by Kevin Harvick a year ago.
And even though next week at Talladega, the Busch Series will be in conjunction with Winston Cup, Butch was telling me that Jay's going to drive that race car there as well. Didn't really see a big benefit in Jeff Green running it, so let Jay Sauter get a few races in.
You know, Larry, and you know, another thing, I've seen Jay Sauter in every single Busch Series race this year. Even though he's not in the car, he's at every single race. And you see NASCAR Winston Cup practice from Martinsville coming up when we're done here.
Get to see our buddy DW in that 14 car making laps for Stacy Compton.
You know, wait a minute. Did Stevie approve that driver change? I know she approved the truck race.
I think she approved Martinsville, so Darrell's taking full advantage of it.
Oh, there you go. He thought he had a free ride there for Martinsville, not just the truck race.
I've been talking to Stevie. I'm not sure she approved anything. I think it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission.
Yeah, I heard Darrell say, don't talk about Stevie. She don't want to be dragged into this mess.
But he's having fun over there this weekend, and I'm proud for him.
Oh, yeah. Looks like the lights are off. A top of the pace car, which means we're about to go racing. We've had 3 cautions today.
Now, the way Tony Raines in the 33 is the leader, he pitted last on lap 41, has elected to stay out under these last caution period, but he's got a mirror full of Jack Sprague in that 24, and behind him is Jason Keller in that 57 car. Brings him down, slow restart, green flag.
Tony Raines, your leader on lap 84. 225 laps make up the distance, 300 miles. Busch Series Racing on FX, the Pepsi 300.
Jack Sprague, that 24, wasting no time. Tony Raines moved to the bottom. Going to pull Jason Keller, that 57 car with him there. Jason Keller decides to fall back in behind Tony Raines here before they get to turn 3 and 4.
Jack Sprague in the 24. Back to the start-finish line is the leader. Let's go to Mark Garrow with more on Tony Raines.
They're having a much better run than they could have expected today, because in happy hour they tried everything they could. They could not get a bad push out of the race car. They went dramatically one way and then the other. Nothing helped. And then this morning they discovered the inner tie rod had bound up. He had hit the banking rod when he was coming off pit road for a lap in practice, and it bound it up. Well, they freed that up, made a couple of other adjustments, and obviously they guesstimated the right way.
All right, thanks, Mark. Tony Raines will celebrate birthday number 38 tomorrow.
And I mean, the tie rod is what connects from the drag link to each wheel, left front, right front. And it's what, when you turn the drag link, turn the steering, the drag link turns, that lets the tie rod move the wheel. And that tie rod has 2 joints at the end, and it has to be in a neutral position. If you tighten one way and one the other, it will be bound up and will make the car not drive very good.
32 car of Dan Pardis has been black flagged. Jack Sprague is your leader.
Looking out of Kenny Wallace's car, the 48 car, and he was on pit road with the leaders back on lap 59, but he had taken tires on earlier. All they did to this car that time is top it off with fuel and make a track bar adjustment.
And then just ahead, you see the Excedrin car, the 92 of Todd Bodine. He said after yesterday, Larry, after qualifying in practice, he just couldn't get a handle on it. And there he is in the 8th position. He said he was loose, and then he was tight, and then he was loose again. He and crew chief Tony Liberati must have figured something out overnight.
Yeah, and it's good to see Todd in the Busch Series having some good competitive runs. They tested here. And you know something I learned about this team in this car? They actually use Amick motors, and that's Lyndon Amick's dad, who owns an engine company that supplies motors to some of these Busch Series teams.
Lyndon Amick in the 26 car, listed in the 22nd position. Jack Sprague, Jason Keller looking underneath for the lead.
Side by side, they have the 32 car there in front of them. That's Dan Pardis. He's a lap down. Jason Keller being very particular where Dan Pardis is going to be, where he wants to try to get by him at.
Yeah, he doesn't want to make a mistake because he's not sure which way Pardis is going to go.
Absolutely not. He'd prefer to pass him here on the straightaway. Still a long way to go. Here he pulls to the bottom. Dan Pardis in the 32 drifts up high. Looks like Jason Keller getting by him here as they come to the start-finish line. Jack Sprague in the 24 drops to the bottom. He wants to go by him too before they get to turn 1. Both on complete the pass.
Jason Keller, 31 years old, trying to win his first NASCAR Busch Series championship. Let's go now to Matt Yoka. Matt?
Well, he's trying to win his first Busch Series championship. Jack Sprague trying to win his first career Busch Series victory. He's been second twice. He came on the radio, as he has much of today's race, complaining his car is just on the tight side. They adjusted the air pressure on his last stop. And he told his crew chief, Dennis Conner, just about how the car is cutting or not cutting in the center of the corner. His crew chief, Dennis Conner, came back on the radio and said, you know what, next time, let's try a track bar adjustment and see if that might help that 24 car.
And what they're talking about doing, we have the track bar in the rear of the car. It basically holds the rear end in the center of the car, and the adjustments on the right rear, you can raise it or lower it. And when you raise it, it almost makes that right rear spring feel like it's a little bit stiffer, and it'll help the car turn off the corner. But I think these teams, as this race unfolds, more rubber down on this racetrack, they're going to have to continue. Even the cars running up front will have to continue to make adjustments to free these cars up. The more rubber, the least the front end will want to turn, especially off the corner.
Working lap 92 of 225 laps, 300 miles. Jason Keller is your leader. He's followed by Jack Sprague, Mike McLaughlin, Randy LaJoie, and Todd Bodine. Continuing to lead this race, Pepsi 300, 225 laps. Keller in the 57 car, PPC Racing out of Mooresville, North Carolina. Race team, that is. You say that about Jason. He's from upstate South Carolina. He was like that.
Yeah, Greenville, South Carolina.
Todd Bodine in the 92 goes by LaJoie, trying to go by LaJoie. The 70 makes the pass.
Able to drive it much deeper down in the corner, but looked like he paid a price right here in the center. Randy LaJoie pulled back up on him, but Todd was able to get back on the throttle off the corner. A little distance on it. You know, we talked about at the beginning of the show the track temperature, this being concrete. It's actually staying about the same temperature. It was about 86 degrees when we started. Now it's about 83 degrees. But what little bit of sun we do have, it has the asphalt, which the only thing that's asphalt is pit road, up to 94 degrees. So almost 10 degrees hotter on the asphalt than the racing surface of the concrete.
And the crew chiefs like that, don't they?
Yes, we do. The car just don't change that much, except with the rubber going down.
Bobby Hamilton Jr. in the 25 car is in the 5th position.
Ashton Lewis Jr. in 46, he's back on the pit road, still trying to make repairs to that car after that wreck a while ago.
Randy LaJoie there in that blue and white, number 7. In the 4th position, there's Randy, two-time NASCAR Busch Series champion.
Come into the race here 4th in points, so he'd love to have a good solid finish, move him up in the points, leaving Nashville.
And you mentioned at the top of the show, Jeff Green came in here as the points leader, but he's not in this race. Jay Sauter driving the 21. We'll have a new point.
Yes, we will. Boy, we see him trying to get three wide here.
And I like Bobby Hamilton Jr., Larry. He's not afraid to go fast. He said, if you're afraid, do something else.
he is not afraid of anything. But I still get tickled when I look at him. It's like, are you sure you're old enough to drive?
I know, he's about 5 foot nothing. But he can turn that baby left.
And he will stand on that throttle.
I mentioned earlier, his dad will be in the hunt tomorrow.
Always at Martinsville, starting on the outside front row.
Jason Keller still leading this race in the 57 car. There he is, Nashville Superspeedway. Mike McLaughlin in the 18 car, the Joe Gibbs Racing team, in the 7th position. And there's Johnny Sauter in the 2. Let's check in on the Mike McLaughlin car with Mark Garrow.
Well, crew chief Tim Shutt has some decisions to make because in the beginning of this race, the car was tight, so they began to work on freeing it up. Well, Mike is now telling them, you've succeeded. It's loose in, loose off. Let's go back the other way.
Well, the car's responded. They jumped the fence, and now they're going to have to come halfway back. But just, again, remember, we're going to hear people talk about this racetrack getting tighter and tighter. The front end will turn less and less because as that rubber goes down, the front end just will not grip as good. But it's good to know when you can't jump the fence. At least we know we can come halfway back, and that should fix it.
Kenny Wallace in the 48 car. Saw Casey Mears right behind him. Wallace listed in the 10th position, Mears in the 11th. Great run for Casey Mears in the 66.
They came here and tested. They've tested at almost every racetrack. Remember, the Busch teams, they get 7 tests, but when you're a Rookie of the Year candidate, you actually get 12 tests. So they've taken full advantage of that 66 car, and it is a Dodge, I might add. 2 Dodges in the field, Casey Mears and teammate Hank Parker Jr. This is a battle for second. Todd Bodine. Adjustments they made on that 92 car. He has come to life. He goes by Jack Sprague for the 2nd position. Now he has his sights set on race leader Jason Keller.
Boy, Todd made that look easy. 255 NASCAR Busch Series career starts for Todd Bodine. 13 wins.
And you know something I don't think a lot of people know, the Herzogs own this 92 team, but Reggie Jackson bought into this race team. He's part owner in the 92 car.
Mr. October.
September, August.
Yeah, exactly. They're another team that raced in the ASA series, Larry. They also have raced trucks. They've done the Pikes Peak Hill Climb, the Herzogs I'm talking about. So they've done a lot of different races.
And of course, this is the team that Jimmy Johnson drove for, and I think won the race at Chicago last year.
10 car of Scott Briggs. Jason Keller's teammate is 11th. What's going on with Scott, Matt Yoakum?
Well, Steve, you remember last week at Texas in the Winston Cup race, we told you the story about Ward Burton not having good radio communication with his pit. He was having some kind of electronic problem. Well, the same goes for rookie Scott Riggs. The mic in the helmet is not working. The team cannot hear what he is trying to relay to them about his race car. So now they're asking him to just key his mic twice for yes and one to no, as the 18 car is on pit road.
Boy, Larry, you know, it sounds like a cliche. You know, Matt was talking about the communication there, but you have to be able to talk to each other.
Yes, I mean, it's so important. I mean, I know I can remember when we really didn't have radios. I know I'm telling my age here just a little bit, but radios become so important with the crew chief, especially the spotter on the top of the grandstand, Mike McLaughlin in for 4 tires full of fuel, and he's away.
Working lap 108.
Todd Bodine in that 92, he has run Jason Keller down in a hurry. There is no question Todd has the fastest race car on the racetrack right now.
And to hear Todd tell it yesterday, they were going to have no shot. I don't know what Tony Liberati did to that race car, but Todd said it was just, he said it just wasn't good.
Well, and I talked to Tony myself this morning, and he kind of felt the same way. Maybe not as adamant as Todd was about it, but they did make some adjustments on this race car. And evidently they made the right adjustments on that pit stop a while ago as well. Look at Todd all the way down at the bottom of the racetrack. Really able to stay in that throttle right here. Looks like he's got more horsepower. He was just able to get the throttle off turn 4. He's going to win the race down to turn 1 and take the lead.
Lap 110, Todd Bodine in that 92 takes the lead. Todd Bodine trying to win his 14th career NASCAR Busch Series race. 225 laps, 300 miles the distance. You're watching Busch Series racing on FX, a patriotic fan. Welcome back to the Nashville Superspeedway. You're watching NASCAR Busch Series racing on FX. Todd Bodine is our leader, and Mark Hero has his crew chief, Tony Liberati.
The last time I saw Rambo after happy hour yesterday, he was slamming his clipboard down after that final practice. Very unhappy with the race car. You found something, Tony, and you just told me you found it in the race. When did you find it, and what did you find?
Well, me and Todd run the Motorhome 500 last night. I was in his motorhome to about 10:30 last night. We worked on a bunch of stuff. That rain delay is what really helped us. We talked back and forth, made a pit stop, made a change, and the car just come to life. Todd's driving his ass off, and we're doing a hell of a job. And pit crews showed up today. Alexander Monte Carlo drove to the front. Hopefully we can keep it there.
They last pitted on lap 59. They plan on coming back on lap 125 or 26.
Thanks, Mark. They call Tony Liberati Rambo. He's a tough guy.
Yes, he is that. Motorhome 500, a lot of these drivers have the motor coaches. They stay in here in the infield, and I spent many a night with drivers in the Motorhome 500. Greg Biffle in that 60 car out major repairs. He is back on the racetrack and out there making circles. 59 laps down.
There's the 21 of Jay Sauter, the 27 of Jamie McMurray, Scott Wimmer in the 23 car.
That's a battle for 12th.
Larry, we should mention we're just past the halfway mark of this race.
Scott Wimmer finishes 3rd here last year, and again, this is a backup car because he wrecked in happy hour yesterday. But Robin Barker, his crew chief, they've put the right package of this car. Awfully good not to have any practice with it.
And Larry, I watched him in practice yesterday. He hit the wall hard. Just the second lap of happy hour. Final practice hit the wall up between turns 3 and 4.
Look at these guys. They're racing like they're coming for the checkered flag. Jay Sauter in the 21, Jamie McMurray in the 27, Tim Sauter in the 19, and Scott Wimmer in the 23. Need to make sure to put a period on Mike McLaughlin, who pitted back on lap 109. The reason he had to pit, it was a routine stop because he was last on pit road when they gave them 1 to go after the rain cost at lap 42. That's 67 laps. That's about what these teams can run on fuel. So that was a scheduled pit stop.
Todd Bodine has led 9 of 119 laps. There he is in the 92. He started 17th. We have 29 cars on the lead lap. 7 lead changes among 7 drivers. 6 cars officially listed off the racetrack.
And again, I know the fan at home may say, why would Greg Biffle come out there 59 laps down and go back out there racing? He came in here third in points. Every position he can make up, and we got a battle heating up here right here for second. Jason Keller in the 57, Bobby Hamilton Jr. in the 20. Look how much faster Bobby Hamilton Jr. is. The bottom of the racetrack in the center of the corner. Jason Keller's car is not turning down in the middle of the corner, and it makes it look like Bobby Hamilton Jr. has so much more horsepower, but he was able to get in that throttle and stay in it off the corner. But at the end of the season, those few positions that you run in a race like this, 3 points, extra 4 points, 5 points, they can make a big difference when you tally all the points up at the end of the year.
And Larry, everybody asks why they go back on the racetrack after they've been wrecked. That's why.
Exactly.
You're watching NASCAR Busch Series Racing on FX. We're in Nashville. Welcome back to Nashville Superspeedway. Todd Bodine, the leader on pit road. Mark Garrow's there.
Going over on the right-hand side, Chad Smith has jacked it up. The rear tire changer has already made his run through there. That's John Fertura. He comes swinging back around. The front tire man, though, has beat him. They've got a problem on the back. And now Fertura comes back around. So big problem on the right rear of that car. This is going to be an extended stop for Todd Bodine. He's down and away. 4 tires. He's gone. No changes. Over to Matt.
All right, thanks a lot, Mark. Green flag stop for Todd Bodine. Trouble on the left rear tire. Also should mention, Larry Mack, that Tony Raines pitted just a lap before, also on a green flag.
Yeah, and I mean, what happens in Larry Fort in the 14, Shane Mill in the 47, these pretty much are all scheduled stop. You have to maintain that 45 miles per hour down pit road. You go almost a lap and a half down from leading the race to make when you make a green flag stop here.
There's Raines in the 33. Bobby Hamilton Jr. in the 25 is the leader of the race. He goes by Tony Raines. 14 of Larry Foyt is in.
Again, these are all routine stops, but nobody can make it on this stop right here. They'll have to be back on pit road at least by lap 160. Matt Yoakum.
They've already gone to work there on the left side of the car. No chassis adjustments for Larry Foyt. A little trouble on the left front. He's down and away.
Thanks, Matt. Larry Foyt with 1 top 10 finish this year. We documented, finished 10th at Rockingham. Bobby Hamilton Jr. started 4th. We've completed 129 laps today. 225 make the distance.
As I mentioned earlier, again, walking through the garage this morning, a lot of fingers point toward this race car based on happy hour. Not just because he was fastest in happy hour. Being fastest, cutting that fast lap don't necessarily mean that you're good for long runs, but everybody was pointing that race car, said, let me tell you something, 15, 20 lap runs, this car is good. Jay Sauter in 21, he comes to pit road for his green flag stop as well. And what really hurts you also on these green flag stops, and boy, Ron Horner, he just came on the pit road. He almost didn't make it in the 5 car, is you come in off of turn 4, but once you get to the end of pit road, there's an access road that goes on below turn 1 and 2. There's no speed limit there, but you can't run that fast. You come back out on the racetrack turn 2. So a lot of time from coming on the pit road at turn 4 and leaving pit road over turn 2. A lot of time lost, especially under green.
Bobby Hamilton Jr. in that Marines car, started 4th, which led 6 of 131 laps. 22 cars on the lead lap. 3 cautions for 33 laps this afternoon here at the Nashville Superspeedway. And we've got a car in the wall at turn 4. Oh, Hank Parker Jr. is having a great run to 36.
And caution is on the speedway, and this is really not a very good break for people like Todd Bodine, those guys making these green flag stops, because they are going to be a lap down.
Bobby Hamilton Jr. comes back around to receive the yellow flag. 4th caution this afternoon, coming on lap 132. Hank Parker Jr. in the wall in turn 4. A lot of damage, Larry. You just mentioned he was one of 2 Dodges in the field.
Yeah, these is only 2 Dodges. Dodge coming into the Busch Series for the first time this year, just like they joined Winston Cup. And Casey Mears, his teammate, Hank Parker Jr., running the Dodges in the full Busch Series this year. Yeah, there's a lot of damage to that race car.
Bobby Hamilton Jr. in the 25, looking for his first NASCAR Busch Series victory. 91 career starts for Hamilton Jr. Grew up not too far from this racetrack.
Pretty much all the cars that had not made their pit stops, you will see them come to pit road. The cars that had just made green flag stops, especially like Todd Bodine, that group, what they'll try to do is stay out, and at least they'll be on the tail end of the lead lap. Once the leaders come to pit road, the other cars will pull up behind the pace car, and it will pull them right at a lap down, but on the tail end of the lead lap, then what they would need to do is jump out there and get that quick caution.
Working caution for the 4th time this afternoon. Hank Parker Jr., the unlucky racer, to bring out the yellow. Hit the wall pretty hard in turn 4.
The reason the leaders didn't come to pit road that time, pit road was not open. The pace car just barely picked them up over in turn 3 and 4, so I don't think pit road was actually open.
You know, DW mentioned a week ago that Bobby Hamilton Jr., his crew chief, is a veteran crew chief, Fred Wanke, and that's going to help Bobby Hamilton.
Well, I think it does. I think you can hear it when you interview Bobby Hamilton Jr. He mentions Fred Wanke all the time. He has that confidence in Fred. When Fred tells him something that he feels like they do to the race car, I think Bobby Hamilton Jr. believes in it. When a driver believes in stuff you're doing, it's going to make a difference. Nothing like confidence in each other and believing in each other.
Larry, have just been told that the 46 of Ashton Lewis is being black flagged. Evidently, he made contact with Hank Parker.
Yeah, but they'll bring him to pit road and have a consultation. Don't know how many laps here. You see all the leaders coming to pit road. Bobby Hamilton Jr., Jason Keller, Jack Sprague, Johnny Sauter, Randy LaJoy, everybody that's still on the lead lap. Lead lap cars only can pit this time. Coming to pit road, get those 4 tires and full of fuel.
Casey Mears in the 66 running in the top 10. Let's go to Mark Garrow.
Jack Sprague is in. The Net Zero Chevrolet pulls in. They're now jacking up the right-hand side. Crew Chief Dennis Connors says Jack Sprague has been complaining about a tight condition, so they're going to go 2 rounds up on the track bar and make some air pressure adjustments. He'll get the 4 tires, and now over to Matt.
The 25 car's already in. They made a track bar adjustment. Bobby Jr. saying his car just is too tight up off the corner. The 57 car who already completed service, he is still tight across the center. They made an air pressure adjustment and a wedge adjustment for Jason Keller.
All right, thanks a lot, Matt. And Mark Garrow on pit road. We're under caution for the 4th time today. You're watching NASCAR Busch Series Racing on FX. Huge crowd at the Nashville Superspeedway. A beautiful Saturday afternoon. The 46th of Ashton Lewis, you see them. He's getting a stop and go penalty. And Larry, my understanding is he's been told that he has got to go to the garage for contact that he made with Hank Parker Jr. unless the 36 can get back in the race.
Which I think is fair enough. If they determine, you know, that's the problem. You know, if Hank Parker Jr. cannot come back in the race, I guess Ashton Lewis Jr. should not be able to. What we have to remember is back on lap 81, Hank Parker Jr. gets into Ashton Lewis Jr. He spins out. Ashton Lewis Jr. apparently retaliates here, and that's the reason Hank Parker Jr. now in the garage area. You know, we've talked all day long about raising the track bar to help these cars turn off the corner. I'm going to dig in our Fox box here and show you what track bar is. Now, this is the wedge boats up here. It's where they make that adjustment, but right there, right rear window where we make the track bar adjustment, we're going to raise this track bar right here. When you raise that track bar up, and 1 round is about 1/4 of an inch, it will help the car turn. It makes that right rear spring think it's stiffer there, and it'll help the car turn off the corner. Lots of track bars going up on the right rear on these race cars today.
Excellent explanation once again by Larry McReynolds. We're under caution. 225 laps make up the distance. We've run 138. They're having fun here at Nashville. Welcome back to the Nashville Superspeedway. We're about to go back to racing. Jason Keller is the leader. He's led 81 of 139 laps.
But he's going to line up 4th in line. Kenny Wallace in the 48. Jay Sauter in the 21. Tony Ranger in the 33 lines up in front of him. And we try to explain this every week to the fan because I know it can be complicated. These guys
and make green flag stops. They were a little more than a lap down. But when the caution comes out and the leader like Jason Keller comes to pit road, these guys were able to pull up to the back of the pace car, so they actually made their lap up while Jason Keller and that group was on pit road, so they're at the tail end of the lead lap, needing a caution bad right now.
Jason Keller in heavy traffic, and we've got one on the wall.
That's 73. That's Jason Schuler. He had actually moved up into the 7th position. What a shame.
Oh, that's too bad.
Good run. Drove Matt Kenseth's car at a few races last year, the 17 car.
His first start this year, the 2002 season.
It worked some pit strategy and worked themselves up into the top 10 after starting in 32nd position. And he's going to go straight to the garage. But this is the break that Kenny Wallace in the 48. Jay Sauter in the 21, Tony Raines, and Shane Mill, all 4 of those cars will make the lap up. They didn't want to see a man like Jason Schuler have a problem, but they did, as we were just speaking, needed that caution.
They're the beneficiaries. Let's go check in now with Mark Garrow in the garage. Mark?
The last caution, of course, involved Hank Parker Jr. 2 run-ins with Ashton Lewis Jr. Talk about the first one and talk about the run-in number 2.
Well, you know, we were all bunched up on that restart, and I had a good run on his inside, pulled him all the way down the back straightaway. He tried to block me, and he pulled up like he was going to let me go on the inside, and the 47 car checked up. Looked like he tried to pull down at the last minute, and his car just shot loose. He spun out. I hated it, but I wasn't even sure if I touched him. I was definitely on his inside, and I guess he retaliated, spun us out. I had a good car, and I hate it. GNC, they deserve better than this. We've had great race cars a lot this year, just haven't been able to bring it home good.
Guys, they're trying to repair this car, but maybe you can see all the damage to it a lot. The car, the rear clip pushed all the way back to the rear windshield. If they get this car back into the race, it'll be a minor miracle.
All right, thanks, Mark. Heavy work to that 36 car. His best finish this year, 13th. And he is, in fact, disappointed with the 2002 season that they have had. Jason Keller is the leader here in Nashville Superspeedway. We'll be right back here on FX. Still under caution here at the Nashville Superspeedway. Let's check in with Mark Garrow.
Well, we're down here in the garage area with Ashton Lewis Jr. Ashton, we just talked to Hank about the 2 incidents you guys had on the racetrack. One he thought was racing, the other was retaliation. What do you have to say?
I'm sure he thought that first one was racing. You know, the guys prepared a great car. We didn't qualify where we wanted to, and we qualified 16th. Just had a great race car and came up to 8th in no time. And then we had a bad pit stop on that first stop and fell back a little bit. And we were being real patient and working our way up to the front. And we caught a lap car, about 4 of us did, and we were just running there in line, and Hank got in the back of us, turned us around, ended our day. You know, these guys work awfully hard on these race crews, and I'm right there with these guys, and we're not going to, you know, put in all that effort. And for having it not, we're having a rough start to the season, and we need a good finish, and to have it taken away, we're not going to, you know, it's unfortunate for these guys, and, you know, I hate it.
So was it a payback?
No, it wasn't a payback. We went down the back straightaway, and I pulled to the inside, going down the back straightaway, trying to let him go on the outside, and he came down the inside, and he drove off into 3 and just got real high, and I was just on the bottom side, and I guess he tried to come back down, and I got him in the left rear quarter and turned him around, so I hate it for him.
That's what you have, Ashton Lewis Jr., Hank Parker Jr., the he said, she said of those 2 incidents.
All right, thanks, Mark. Also understand that Stedman Marlin is being penalized for an unapproved tire change.
And what that would mean, we spoke earlier, that these guys have 3 sets of tires, 3 per position that you can change under caution. You can change all you want under green. Remember, Stedman spun early in the race. That cost him 1 set right there, but it don't matter. You only have 3 sets. He must have put another set on or another tire on a position he couldn't. Penalized 1 lap. Green flag racing coming our way again.
Pace car is off. Jason Keller gets the green flag, leads the field down into turn 1, followed by Jack Sprague in the 24, Bobby Hamilton Jr. in the 25, Randy LaJoy in the 7, Johnny Sauter in the 2 car. Keller gets a good start on that restart, Larry.
Well, they're 3 wide down the back straightaway. Todd Bodine in that 92 car. He's trying to get up there to Jason Keller. What he needs right now, remember, he's a lap down from that green flag stop. He wants to get up there and battle with these guys, trying to get that lap back. Hopefully, if a caution comes out for him. Mike McLaughlin in the 18 car in the same position. Wants to get up there with Todd, stay with him. Maybe they can catch a caution and get their lap back here with less than 80 laps to go.
Jason Keller in the 57 has led 88 of 146 laps. Jack Sprague right behind him, trying to win his first NASCAR Busch Series event.
Jason Keller, I know he's on fresh tires here right now, but his car looks much better rolling through the middle of the corner, rolling around the bottom of the corner than it did the last couple of runs.
Sprague, he's moving up on the 57. He wants the lead, Larry.
Running a little bit higher line off the corner, trying to keep those RPMs up, keep it round up.
Keller with 6 NASCAR Busch Series wins. Sprague, 3 Truck Series championships.
Right now they put just a little bit of distance on Bobby Hamilton Jr. in the 3rd place car. Remember those 2 cars right behind Sprague, the 92 of Todd Bodine, Mike McLaughlin in the green 18 car. They are a lap down, hunting for a caution flag.
And there's the 12 car, Kerry Earnhardt. We haven't talked about him much today. He's in the 9th position.
And he's battling Kevin Grubb in the 54 right there, and this will be for the 8th position. Again, this is through pit stop strategy. They weren't one of the cars that had to pit under green before that caution came out, and he's worked his way into the top 10 after starting quite a ways back in the field, actually. Actually 15th.
15th. Kerry's best finish this season is an 18th. That came at Darlington. Driving that number 12 car for Terry Bradshaw. Armando Fitz.
The drivers that command to start their engine. There you see Tim Sauter behind him in that 19 car. He's worked his way back in the 10th spot.
There's Tim in the 19. 75 car is Butch Miller. That was not a battle for position. Butch is listed in the 21st position, a lap down.
You know, Mark Garrow talked about the 19 car a while ago, the new crew chief, Bobby McKee, and he talked about him coming from Matt Kenseth. He was actually the car chief on Matt Kenseth's Busch car. What the car chief is, he's pretty much like the assistant coach. He pretty much carries through what the crew chief wants done to the race car, gets the car through inspection, actually does a lot of the setup. It's just where the crew chief's duties has grown as a manager. You need that right-hand man. Now he's made the move over here. He replaces Joe Shear, but Joe Shear still works with the team, working on the chassis, working on shock setups.
Tim Sauter, 1999 ASA champion. And I think that's a great testament to Sauter. I told the story, Larry, earlier about him driving the team transporter to an ASA race. He told me he actually slept in the shop.
Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes.
Looking at our leaders here, these guys seem pretty equal right now. Jason Keller in the 57, Jack Sprague in the 24. Nobody seems to be a little better getting in the corner or through the middle or coming off or even down the straightaway. Everything looks pretty equal right here. These guys may be content to run this way just a little bit, but while they're doing it, Todd Bodine back here in that 92, he keeps coming a little closer, so they're going to have him to contend with in just a few laps, trying to get that lap back.
72 laps to go. There's Johnny Sauter, the rookie in the 2 car, and Mark Garrow has more on Sauter.
The Sauter's team, they have worked most of the push out of that AC Delco Chevrolet. Crew chief Ricky Byers told me that just a tiny little push now, just a little bit tight coming out of turn number 2. They've got it right down in turns 3 and 4. They'll make one more adjustment on tires on the next pit stop, hopefully to get it completely right. Also said Johnny feeling a whole lot better, and Larry McReynolds, it's nothing like a great running race car to make somebody sick who's behind the wheel feel a whole lot better.
He comes in here with the flu. I guarantee you that old race car starts turning good and feeling good up there running in the top 10. They giving him his lap times and comparing him to the leader. It'll make him feel a whole lot better. It's back there when you're battling in the back, trying to stay on the lead lap, getting lapped. That's when those flu symptoms will seem to get a little worse.
Back up front, Jason Keller in the 57, still holding off Jack Sprague.
But Sprague, he's trying all kinds of grooves off the exit of the corner, trying to see if he can find out where Jason Keller may be a little bit weak. If he can ever get that right front fender to that left rear quarter panel, he knows he can get in there and take the position away.
And Jason Keller, one thing about him, as I said, he's only 31, 32 years old, but he's smooth. He does not make mistakes.
And he knows how to finish races. I mean, he's always there at the end of these things.
Sprague looks to the bottom.
Saw Jason Keller got a little bit loose up there out of the groove. He'll be able to carry the pass down here getting into turn 1. There you see Todd Bodine in that 92 car bringing Bobby Hamilton Jr., the third-place car, with him. They're trying to open the door there. They're going to go by him as well. Bobby Hamilton Jr. take the second position away from Jason Keller.
Keller tucks back in underneath or behind the 25 car of Hamilton.
You know, we talked about Jason Keller able to finish races. He's been running at the end of 30 consecutive Busch races. That's almost a full season of races.
Yep. Jack Sprague is the leader in the 24 car, driving for Hendrick Motorsports. Laps are winding down here at the Nashville Superspeedway. You're watching FX. Continuing to lead as the laps wind down here at the Nashville Superspeedway. 162 in the books of 225. Jason Keller is second, Randall LaJoy third, Scott Riggs fourth, and Johnny Sauter is fifth in the 2 car. Todd Bodine, the 92 car. Let's take a look at what happened between he and Bobby Hamilton just moments ago. On board with Jason Keller.
Coming off turn 4 on the front straightaway. Boy, Bobby Hamilton Jr., I don't know that he even knew that Todd Bodine was down there. Matt Yokin, how about the 25 car? He had to make an unscheduled stop.
Well, Larry, as he came down pit road, he had a cut left rear tire.
All right, thanks, Matt. And Todd Bodine spins out.
And the caution is out. And what a terrible break for Bobby Hamilton Jr. because he was a lap and a half down. He was up there running in the second, third spot. Came to pit road. He could go the distance from here should it stay green, but the caution comes out and he's going to be a lap down.
6th caution of the afternoon.
And I think it's pretty safe to say that all of our leaders will be to pit road because we're here at lap 164. That puts us about 10 laps into the window. They can go the distance should they pit here for fuel and tires.
Let's see what happened to Todd Bodine in the 92.
Just gets real loose off of turn 2. Nobody really behind him. Jason Keller several car lengths behind him. Boy, Jason Keller just barely gets by. Wow. But Todd just getting loose. Rear end comes around as he's on the throttle coming off turn 2.
Larry, might there have been some damage to a tire or something else from that contact with Bobby?
Very well could. He could have had a right front going down or a right rear going down. There you see everything looks good right there. You'll see the tail start to come around right here. He's not out of the groove. He's in the racing groove, just comes around with him very well. And it may have not been where the tire was cut down. It could have had a slow leak and air just leaking out of it, making the car loose. There you see all the leaders at pit road. Jack Sprague in the 24 leading them down at 45 miles per hour.
All the leaders on pit road. Let's go to Matt Yoakum.
Jack Sprague was lobbying his crew chief, Dennis Connor, are you sure that we have to pit? He says, Jack, there's no way we can save an extra 12 laps of fuel. They also made a wedge adjustment and 4 tires for Sprague. Remember, he's trying to win his first career Busch Series victory. And he's already down and away. He does beat the 57 off pit road. Second, his best finish, he did it 10 years ago, and then last week, trying to get number 1 today.
Yeah, thanks. Good call, Matt.
And wasn't it these guys had bad pit stops? We had all kinds of agendas. We had some fueling only, Kerry Earnhardt to 12 fuel only. We had some 2 tires, and we had some guys taking 4 tires.
And we're going to find out how it all shakes out. You're watching NASCAR Busch Series Racing on FX. Find out who's going to win it coming up. Jay Sauter is the leader of the Pepsi 300. We've had 12 lead changes. Average speed 106.09 miles an hour. You see 6 cautions for 47 laps, 8 cars listed out of the race. Let's go to Mark Garrow very quickly. Mark?
Larry McReynolds mentioned that Kerry Earnhardt took gas only. He had to. They're out of tires. They're going to have to nurse this last set the rest of the way. They did make one small adjustment, took the track bar up 2 rounds to try to take out a little bit of a push in the car. To Matt Yoakum.
And the 10 and the 27 both took on 2 tires, and we'll get with Butch Hilton in a minute, but they're going to roll the dice. They're going to try to go the distance.
Boy, that's going to be quite a distance. They were last on pit road after they made that lap up at 130. It's a 225 lap race. That's 95 laps even with the cautions. That's stretching it a long way. Pace cars off, green flag racing.
28 car, Brad Baker's listed in the 2nd position. Jamie McMurray is 3rd. Green flag.
18 cars on the lead lap. Bobby Hamilton Jr. in that 25 car, he's the first car lap down, listed in 19th position. He drives right underneath Jay Sauter, trying to stretch it out there. Now he wants that caution flag. Mike McLaughlin in the 18 car, he's in the same position. Wants to get by Jay Sauter. Hopefully can make that lap up after getting hit on pit road a while ago under a green flag stop.
Let's check in now with Butch Hilton and Matt Yoakum.
Butch Hilton trying to make it 2 for 2. They won at Bristol with Jeff Green. You're rolling the dice, Butch.
Yeah, I really got no other way to win. We missed the gear there real bad, so we're going to give it a shot. See here. There's not that many cars in the lead lap, but we still got a few laps left here. We'll see what happens.
How close are you going to be on fuel?
We're about a lap short right now.
And you know, we heard him say he's missed the gear. That means he's got, and he told me this morning, a high gear. A high gear burns a little less fuel than a low gear. You're not turning as many RPMs. And if Jay can baby that thing a little bit, save a little bit of fuel, roll out of the throttle early, get in the corner, get back into a little later, don't sit there and pat that throttle, you can save some fuel. But 95 laps is a long way to go.
55 laps remaining here in the Pepsi 300.
We got a car in the wall. Turn 2. Casey Mears involved as well. Spins around in the 66 car. He'd been up there running in the top 10.
Yeah, he had gotten as high as 6th at one point this afternoon, Larry. And Dan Pardis in the 32.
And caution is on the speedway. Now again, if Jay Sauter and Butch Hilton, his crew chief, they're trying to do a fuel mileage deal. It looks like Mike McLaughlin in 18. Bobby Hamilton Jr. in 25 definitely got his lap back. I'm not sure about Mike McLaughlin. I think the leader took the caution before. But if these cautions will help the fuel mileage. And you don't use near as much fuel on the caution.
And Larry, you've talked about the formula. It's kind of, is 2 to 1. Is that an accurate assessment?
At a racetrack like this, a mile and a third, I always figured 2 caution laps equals 1 green flag lap.
Heavy damage to the rear of Dan Pardis' number 32 car.
And they've determined that Mike McLaughlin in the 18 did not make his lap back up. The leader took the caution. Jay Sauter took the caution at the start-finish line before the 18 got by.
I love watching these crew chiefs take a gamble, Larry. I mean, I know it doesn't always pan out, but Terry Shirley did it last week at Texas, gave Jeff Purvis a win. And who knows, with more caution laps, maybe Jay Sauter can stretch it.
Well, as close as the competition is, if you just do what the leader does, you're going to be behind the leader all the time. So, yeah, I mean, I like seeing them roll the dice. I know some of the most rewarding times I had is when I played a little bit of a gamble and maybe didn't win the race, but it made a difference in a lot better finishing position at the end of the day. But you can always be a hero, or you can always be a zero.
But Larry McReynolds was a hero much more.
But I was a zero a few times.
I don't know. I don't believe it. Well, we're going to find out if Jay Sauter and Butch Hilton's gamble pays off. You're watching Busch Series Racing on FX. Jay Sauter in the 21 car. The Richard Childress Racing Machine is listed as your leader. We're working caution for the 7th time today. Stedman Marlin in the 95. His dad leads the Winston Cup points, but Stedman goes around. We had a caution for rain on lap 19. Then Greg Biffle, who won this race a year ago, he gets turned around on lap 57. He's not happy at Randy LaJoie. The 92, Todd Bodine, may have suffered some damage from an earlier incident with Bobby Hamilton Jr. He goes around on lap 163. Dan Pardis in the 32. He and Casey Mears in trouble on the backstretch, and Pardis on the hook, headed to the garage. 50 laps remaining. Crew chiefs Steve Addington and Butch Hilton talking. Jay Sauter. The question is, Larry, can they stretch it on fuel?
It's every caution lap they run. I'm sure Jay Sauter and Butch Hilton go, one more caution lap, because they need a lot of caution laps. Again, 95 laps from lap 130 to the end of this race, lap 225, these guys would have to run. So that's a long way, considering that most teams told me this morning 65 to 70 laps on fuel. But we have to remember these guys talked about having a little higher gear in, burn a little less fuel.
It should mention Jay Sauter making his 64th career start today. He has never won a NASCAR Busch Series race. He won 4 Truck Series races for Richard Childress.
And you know, you have to think about this race team. Even though they're running competitive, it still has to be a challenge working with 2 different drivers. In fact, Butch Hilton told me that there's a lot of things about the inside the car that's different for Jay than Jeff Green, especially the seat. So what they've done, they've designated 2 cars in their stable for Jay to run at the downforce racetracks like here at Nashville. Then they have 3 cars that they designate for Jeff Green. The Super Speedway car that Jeff Green drove it to Daytona. Since Jay's going to drive it next week in Talladega, they'll just change a lot of the stuff inside. They have the 1 Speedway car, but that's a challenge. And I mean, I've worked with 2 different drivers over the course of a season for other reasons other than this, and it's a challenge.
And I've heard DW mention this too. The driver has to be comfortable inside that race car to be able to drive it.
Absolutely. I mean, he may want the throttle pedal a little different, the brake pedal a little different, the steering a little different. And that's things, if these guys didn't designate different cars for these 2 different drivers, they'd have to go through that every single week.
Larry, we need to mention Brad Baker in the 28 car is in the 4th position. He's another local driver, and Mark Guerra was with his crew chief.
Sorry, guys. I'm with Tony Burgess. The switch on my microphone went off. Tony, you guys have pitted. You've got all the tires and fuel you need to get to the end.
Yeah, we've got tires, fuel. We're good to go to the end. We're running the best we have all day, so we're ready to go.
Brad's a local boy. How many fans you guys got in the stand?
I imagine he's got quite a few, family and friends.
Folks, this is unsponsored. The crew doesn't have uniforms, and they may be the Cinderella story of this race this afternoon.
All right, thanks, Mark. Brad making just his 21st Busch Series start.
And you know what's unique about this run he's having today? There was a lot of questions about how he would run today. I found out this morning throughout the entire practice yesterday that they had the left front tire on the right front and the right front on the left front, and they are not the same. The right front tires, the right side tires are a much harder compound because they do more work, more load than the left sides. So they had that harder tire on the left front and that softer tire on the right front, and there's no telling how that car was driving. Yeah. And I think that's what Brad was describing yesterday. This car just won't drive. I can't tell you what it's doing. I'm sure that's what it was doing.
So that was probably just an honest mistake by one of the crew members.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. I mean, the tires look the same, obviously. They just have a number on them that tells you whether it's right side or left side. And yes, when you take a team that don't run every week, that's not used to doing processes, then I could certainly see where that would happen. Pace car's off. We're going back racing.
Jay Sauter is the leader. It's his first start of the 2002 season, and he's looking for his very first NASCAR Busch Series win.
48 laps to go.
The question is, can they make it the rest of the way? I heard Butch Hilton, the crew chief on that 21, say earlier that they might be a lap short, but these caution laps have helped.
Boy, Mike McLaughlin in that 18 car, he got a heck of a run off turn 2, pulls up beside Scott Riggs in the 10 car. Remember, McLaughlin in the 18, he's a lap down right here. But you know, where I see him really beating Jay Sauter is off the corner, but as Jay Sauter soft footing that thing, trying not to nail the throttle early in the corner, trying to save that fuel right here.
Scott Riggs in the 10 car making just his 7th NASCAR Busch Series start. There he goes underneath the 21 of Sauter. Boy, Riggs gave Jeff Burton a great battle at Las Vegas.
Yes, he did. I mean, this kid has given everybody great battles since his first Busch start back in Daytona. Jamie McMurray in the 27 car. Shane Milne in the 47. They have Jay Sauter in that 21 kicked up to the high side. Same thing happened to him early in the race. There's a second groove here, but you just don't have the grip that you have at the bottom of the racetrack.
Scott Riggs finished 4th at Rockingham and 4th at Texas, his 2 best finishes. There he is in the 10 car, also finished 6th in the season opening race at Daytona. And he's one aggressive, young, hungry racer.
Oh, I love his style. He pulls up on the back of Mike McLaughlin right here. Mike McLaughlin got his lap back. Scott Riggs trying to put him back down that lap as they go across the start-finish line. 45 laps to go.
Scott Riggs from Bahama, Virginia.
Bahama, Virginia.
That's a big story.
I wonder if that bologna burger's there.
I guarantee you they do.
It's a good run from Jamie McMurray sitting back here in the 2nd spot. You know, this guys, of course, Casey Atwood driving this race car at one time. Jeff Purvis, his teammate, won Texas last week, and we got a battle right here. The 19 car, Tim Sauter, Sprague in the 24, Keller in the 57. That's a battle for 7.
And if it seems like we're saying Sauter a lot, that's because there's three of them
out
and
there.
all 3 of them have run well today.
Yes, they have.
We should mention also the 21 and the 2, Jay and Johnny Sauter, are teammates. Oh, Kenny Wallace underneath the 2. Johnny Sauter says, I don't want any piece of that action.
There you see Bobby Hamilton Jr. in the 25 car. All that damage on the left side from him and Todd Bodine getting together early. Had to make that green flag stop. He's sitting back there a lap down.
43 laps to go. Scott Riggs, teammate to Jason Keller at PPC Racing. Riggs is a rookie in the NASCAR Busch Series. And I heard a great story. This team tested at Darlington earlier this year, and you've talked about Harold Holley, his crew chief, extensively about how talented he is. He took Riggs to Darlington and didn't give him the Jeff Green setup. That's the car that Jeff drove to a championship. Wanted to see how much feedback that Scott Riggs could give him. And by lunchtime, he was sitting about track record speed.
Yes, he was. They was adjusting on that car.
Yeah.
And you know, a couple of guys I want to talk about. We talked about him a little bit. Kerry Earnhardt, he's sitting there running in 5th in that 12 car. And then you look at the car behind him, Stacy Compton in the 59. No practice.
None.
Came straight from Martinsville this morning after practicing his cup car, and he's sitting there in the 6th position. So I think Stacy Compton is surprising a lot of people at the performance he's having trying to do this double duty between Winston Cup and the Busch Series.
Let's check in with Matt Yoakum.
Well, Steve, I talked to Butch Hilton, Jay Sauter's crew chief. They now can make it on fuel, but like Larry Mack is well documented, and Butch, they chose the wrong gear today, so they just can't get up off the corner like the competition. Now they're looking at the points chase. Remember, we said at the top of the show, they're trying to win the Owners' Championship in this Busch Series, since they are going to split between both Jeff Green and Jay Sauter, the Busch races this year.
All right, thanks a lot, Matt. There is Jay Sauter in the 21. He's listed in the 3rd position right now. 40 laps to go.
He's battling Todd Bodine right now. We look back at Scott Riggs in the 10 car out there. He's at the start-finish line now. Jamie McMurray about 100 car lengths behind him right now. So he's stretching it on out right there. Has that Ford out there in the clean air. That car's turning good.
NASCAR Winston Cup practice coming up. Larry Mack was just talking about Stacy Compton. DW is behind the wheel of that 14 car.
DW's been behind the wheel of everything at Martinsville this week. I know Jay Sauter in the 21, he would love to get away from Todd Bodine. I mean, Todd Bodine in the 92, he's doing what he should be doing right now. He's trying to get up there where if that caution comes out, he can go up there and hopefully get his lap back. But it can be aggravating to you. It's like, get off my rear bumper. You're not on the lead lap.
Jack Sprague in the 24, Kerry Earnhardt in the 12. Sprague is listed 5th, Earnhardt rides 6th.
Sprague with a little fresher tire. Remember Mark Garrell telling us a while ago, Kerry Earnhardt and that group got the track position by taking fuel only. The reason is, though, they had already used their 3 sets of tires that you can change under caution. Unlike Winston Cup, every time the yellow flag waves, they come get 4 more tires.
Right.
Busch Series, as a cost reduction, has a rule that before each race, and normally it's 3 sets, tells the team you can only change 3 sets under caution.
Scott Riggs at the point. It's his rookie season, trying to win that first NASCAR Busch Series race. Greg Biffle won his first NASCAR Busch Series race here a year ago. Biffle caught up in an accident on lap 57. Lost a lot of laps in the garage. Scott Riggs is aggressive, and he likes the view from out front. Stretching his lead over Jamie McMurray in the 27, Bobby Hamilton Jr.
And I can tell you, he may have the fastest car on the racetrack. Goes by Tim Sauter. This is for 9th. Remember, he was a lap down after making that green flag stop, made it back up. But the problem is he's 7 seconds behind Scott Riggs. That's a lot of distance to make up, especially when you've got cars in between you and the leader. So I'm just not sure there's enough laps, unless he should get a caution, to get up there and start racing with these guys for the win.
But great job by them to continue to fight back.
Never give up in this sport. Got that lap back. Now they're back in the top 10 here.
Bobby Hamilton Jr. riding ninth. Stacy Compton in the 59 is ahead of him. 14 car of Larry Foyt. Actually listed as 25th. There's Compton in the 59. Let's check in with Mark Garrow.
Well, it's sort of good news, bad news for Stacy Compton. They can't be unhappy. He's running in the top 10. He's in the 8th position right now. Their best finish so far this year, a 10th at Darlington. But they're unhappy because the car's still a little bit tight, and they have to wonder if Stacy could have practiced this car, would they be the little bit better that would put them in contention? That's the one thing they're wondering about right now because they're done. No tires, they won't win again.
All right, thanks a lot, Mark. In case you're wondering, that car was practiced and qualified by Mike Chase, who worked for the 59 team, former Winston West champion. Jamie McMurray in the 27, Jay Sauter in the 21. McMurray is second.
It's definitely one of the best runs. Jamie McMurray was talking earlier when a little bit of action broke out. This is the same car that Casey Atwood drove before going on the Winston Cup and driving for Ray Evernham.
Ruco Motorsports, Jamie's best finish this year, an 11th at Daytona. McMurray in the 27, followed by Jay Sauter in the 21. Larry mentioned earlier in the broadcast, Sauter did a lot of testing down here at the Nashville Superspeedway.
Speaking of testing, and I know we've talked about this a few times, but this is a great run for the 23 car. Scott Wimmer and that group, Robin Barker, wrecked right at the beginning of happy hour. We mentioned a couple of times, they really didn't get any practice with this car. They made a few laps, didn't have the right gear in it, didn't have the right shocks or springs. They just wanted to make sure nothing was leaking, but they tested here. And Robin told me what we did. We went back to our testing notes, and that's how we're going to race this car. Right now, he's got his hands full of Jack Sprague, though, on a little bit fresher tires. Jack Sprague, Scott Wimmer didn't fight the issue right here because there's a lot of distance between him back to Jason Keller in the 57 car, so don't push the envelope right now.
You see Scott Wimmer in the 23, just 27 years old. Another one of those drivers. You hear us talk about the ASA series. That's where he came from, out of Wisconsin, like the Sauters.
And this is a Bill Davis-owned car that owns Ward Burton's car and Hut Strickland's car on the Winston Cup circuit. Tony Raines comes to pit road in the 33 car, trail of smoke out the back of it. His day may be done. He's going to go to the attention of the pit crew. They throw the black flag on him because of the smoke, just in case it was oil. There you see the NASCAR official. They're going to make sure that thing is not leaking anything before they let him go out. This is a NASCAR official right here, wearing a helmet, just like all the crew members, pointing to what was leaking.
And they're not in a big hurry right now for Tony Raines. Meanwhile, back up front, Scott Riggs is the leader. 29 laps to go. Mike McLaughlin trying to get his lap back.
Boy, you see Scott Riggs get a little bit loose right there, jumping back in that throttle. What I would do right now, if I was Harold Hawley, we got a battle here for second. Jay Sauter in the 21, Jamie McMurray in the 27. Either I'd have my spotter, or I would go down there myself and say, look, get off of our rear bumper. If the caution comes out, I'll give you your lap back. Just don't be dogging us like this.
Right, exactly.
I mean, Mike McLaughlin's doing what he should be doing. If he gets a caution, he gets that lap back. But now he's up there racing with the leader, Matt Yoakum. How about Harold Hawley, the crew chief?
Well, Larry Mack, I spoke to Harold this morning. He told me the biggest challenge today was pulling back on the reins on Scott Riggs because they were a little concerned about tire wear. He's giving him the lap times. Well, Harold, are you finally going to let the reins out and let him go?
Well, we had him pulled back earlier. We had a bad pit stop. We've been working on him, trying to get him to slow down, but we put on two there, and we just told him to wear it out.
Well, this could be a big weekend for Scott Riggs if he holds on to score his victory, because next week will be the last week that his wife, Jay, can travel because they are expecting their first child. So what a great win it could be if she could be there in Victory Lane to help celebrate.
All right, thanks a lot, Matt. So, Harold Hawley said, let it rip, huh?
I believe it's time to go. And right now, I think he's perfectly content running behind Matt McLaughlin, because he has almost a 4-second lead over the second-place car of Jay Sauter. Jamie McMurray, Jack Sprague in the 24. This is a battle for third. Jack Sprague, he just keeps on coming. He's on fresher tires in the 27. They had used all their tires up earlier, so Jack Sprague is on a little fresher tires.
You know, you realize, Larry, Jack Sprague has only finished outside of the top 10 once
One time.
Yep. 19th at Bristol. Otherwise, all top 10 runs, including a second at Texas.
He comes in here second to points behind Jeff Green, as we've talked about several times. It's not here today that normally drives 21.
Scott Riggs is the leader. There's McMurray, the 27. He's third. Sprague right behind him in fourth. Scott Wimmer is fifth. Jason Keller, who led a lot earlier, is sixth. Here's Todd Bodine, the 92. Scott Wimmer in the 23 is fifth.
Bobby Hamilton Jr., he's up to the 7th spot. About 6.5 seconds, hadn't made that much gain on the leader. Again, he's having to fight these guys to pass him when he gets to them.
McMurray in the 27, Sprague in the 24. Murray had success in the Truck Series before, as Larry said, replacing Casey Atwood in the 27. Sprague had a lot of success in the Truck Series, winning 3 championships.
Yes, he did. Winning about every racetrack the trucks went to. He's finally going to get by Jamie McMurray here with about 23 laps to go. Todd Bodine in the 92. Remember, he's a lap down.
Listed in 19th.
17 cars actually on the lead lap. Shane Mill being the first car in the 47. Our pole sitter, that's a lap down.
23 laps to go. That's all that separates young Scott Riggs from his very first NASCAR Busch Series victory. There he is in the 10 car. There's Scott Wimmer in the 23. He wants that piece of real estate from McMurray for the 4th position.
I think the older tire is definitely showing up on Jamie McMurray on the 27 car right now. He continues to lose position. He still should, if nothing happens, should have a good top 10 finish, but right now he's got a mirror full of Scott Wimmer in 23, and there you see Jason Keller in the 57 and Bobby Hamilton Jr. that probably has one of the fastest race cars right behind him.
And I imagine that's frustrating for McMurray. You know, he's up there at the front. He knows he's going to have a good finish, but yet tires.
And that's something I have never envied the Busch Series crew chiefs, how to space when you put those tires on. I mean, if your car's not driving good, you get a caution. The obvious thing to do is put tires on, make an adjustment. But sometimes, especially in a race this length, 300 miles, 225 laps, you can end up using them up a little bit early.
Scott Wimmer goes underneath the 27 of Jamie McMurray. Just 21 laps remaining. And Larry, I need to correct myself. I said that he was from Bahama, Virginia. It's Bahama, North Carolina.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, you know.
Right now, whatever Bahamas he's from, he does not need a caution flag. He's sitting out there with a 3-second lead here with 20 laps to go over Jay Sauter. That's 21. There you see Bobby Hamilton Jr. underneath the 57 car. Jason Keller gets that position.
That's 6.
Battle for 6. Set his sights on Jamie McMurray now in that 27 car.
You know, Scott Riggs, it's a great story. I mean, here's a guy who was, you know, running in the All-Pro Series, Slim Jim All-Pro Series. As I recall, he got in the 86 truck at Martinsville. This was a local crew, guys that he raced with on the local track, got the job and took the whole crew with him.
But I watched him 1 year ago. Brandon, my son, and I sat in the grandstands and watched the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race at Martinsville 1 year ago this weekend. And I even told Brandon, my 9-year-old son, I said, watch that truck. That's a truck driver. That truck. He's getting the job done. And obviously, Greg Pollock's saying the same thing. Yep. And hired him to replace. And just think about the pressure on this kid. He replaced Jeff Green. Never had even started a Busch race. Steps right in this 10 car, but he has stepped up to the job.
Jeff Green won the championship in this car in 2000, was second in 2001 to Kevin Harvick.
And when he won it 2 years ago, he sewed it up with about 7, 8, 9 races to go.
And I think Jeff Green in that car had 23 top 5 finishes in that car, which is a record. How about it, Mark Harrell?
He's done an awful great job in that race car. And one interesting thing about the Scott Riggs situation today, he's certainly going to be more focused today than he will be for the second race. His wife, Jay, is pregnant. She's due on June 8th. Race day, Nashville, race number 2 later on this season.
All right, thanks, Mark. Scott Riggs mowing him down, 16 laps to go. He's got quite a healthy lead right now on Jay Sauter in the 21, Jack Sprague in the 24.
And what's good right now, even though he's catching lap traffic, they're not bunched up. He's catching them one at a time, which is definitely the best way to catch lap traffic. You're not in so much traffic affecting the handling of your car, plus you're not taking a chance of getting in that much, having a problem with lap traffic.
Well, we heard Harold Holley talking about holding it back, and Matt Yoka made that point. It reminds me of an old saying, though. It's a lot easier to pull a rope than it is to push one.
You can't push a rope, trust me.
I've never thought that patience and race car drivers should be used in the same sentence.
But the way these racetracks are today, especially here at Nashville Superspeedway, definitely you have to have a little bit of patience. But boy, we got a battle heating up for that second spot right now. We got Jack Sprague all over the back of Jay Sauter. I think the two fastest cars possible on the racetrack is Jack Sprague in the 24 and Bobby Hamilton Jr. in the 25. But just not sure there's going to be enough laps.
And Larry, I want to make the point, too. PBC Racing, Greg Pollux that you referred to, they own the 10 and the 57. Now, they get Robert Yates Motors, but they don't have an alliance with any other Winston Cup team. I mean, in other words, they're competing with Richard Childress, Joe Gibbs, Bill Davis, guys that have a lot of experience in Winston Cup.
But boy, what an engine to have in your quarter, Robert Yates engines.
Yeah, Jason Keller said you can't beat that straightaway handling.
I call it that fifth spring. The one between those two front springs.
And look at Bobby Hamilton Jr. Boy, he's fighting back. He just gets by Scott Wimmer. Wimmer tries the bottom. Hamilton holds the spot.
Moves in the fourth, but this is 6.5 seconds behind leader Scott Riggs. But boy, what a comeback for Bobby Hamilton Jr. after going a lap down after making that unscheduled green flag pit stop. There you see Hank Parker Jr. in the 36 car. He's back out on the racetrack. Mark Garrett.
Larry, you talked about these guys never say die. They never give up. Well, in the crew, down on pit road, the crew of Bobby Hamilton Jr. thinks they still can win it. They know there's only about 12 laps left in this race, but they also know he's got the fastest car. And as you've said before, they're not going to give up until that checkered flag falls. But the way they're jumping up and down, they think he's got a shot.
I believe with 12 laps to go, it's going to take the old friendly caution flag to get him caught up. I mean, never say never in this business, and that's what Mark alluded to. These guys are not giving up, but that's a long way to go in a short time to get there. Right now, it's holding at about 6.5 seconds, and Bobby Hamilton Jr. has some lap traffic to contend with.
11 laps remaining. Scott Riggs trying to hold on for his very first NASCAR Busch Series victory. There he is in that 10 car. Very aggressive young driver, just 31 years old.
Right now, he has a lot of clean racetrack in front of him, about a half a straightaway in front of him. There's 3 lap cars, but they're pretty spread out. I mean, right now, he just needs to be patient, float that thing down in there, not overdrive it, pick the throttle up when the car tells him it's ready, and just hope that caution flag don't come out.
In other words, don't overdrive.
Don't overdrive it. No reason to now. Mike McLaughlin in 18 sitting back there. Yep. I'm sure they've made the deal that, look, you just sit back there, the caution comes out, we'll give you your lap back.
Scott Riggs started this race from the 3rd position. He's led 38 of 216 laps. Jamie McMurray battling with Randy LaJoy. LaJoy gets the spot. That was a battle for 8th. McMurray trying to hold on those worn tires. You said it, Larry. Just hard to make any. Just hard to hold your position, much less make it up.
Yeah, I mean, you drive it down in the corner, you drive it too deep, the front end slides, you pick up the throttle too early, the back end slides, it's just sliding around. All you're trying to do is just hold on, and crew chief's trying to coach you, the spotter's trying to coach you. Just hang on, you're doing good, because again, as we talked about, if he can just hang on here, he's going to have a good top 10 finish.
Scott Riggs, our leader, came in here 2 top 5 finishes. There he is. And Larry, what must be going through that young man's mind? I mean, it is a major accomplishment to win at this level.
Well, yes, I mean, he's a racer. He knows it's not over until it's over. And, you know, we've been talking about Bobby Hamilton Jr. running him down. I've been clocking Scott Riggs and Bobby Hamilton Jr., and they're running exact lap times right now. And I'm sure Harold Holley is making Scott Riggs aware of that. Matt Yoker.
Well, Larry Mack, he came on the radio, Harold Holley, and told his driver, Scott Riggs, You're looking good, 4 seconds. And Scott Riggs came on the radio, but remember, he was having some microphone trouble earlier, and it was very staticky. They couldn't make out what Riggs was saying. And Harold Holly said, Scott Riggs, I don't know what you said, but you go, boy, you go, boy, you go, boy.
You go until you see a checker flag, and then you run another lap just for insurance.
Scott Riggs came in here 7th in points his rookie season, just 111 out of first. He'll move up because, as we said, Jeff Green not here today, the points leader.
Only the second race here at Nashville Superspeedway. You have to remember back a year ago, Greg Biffle in that 60 car gets his first Busch Series career win in his rookie season.
Yep. Scott Riggs has led 42 laps out of 220. 17 cars on the lead lap. We've had 7 cautions for 54 laps. 10 cars listed as off the track.
He's in some pretty heavy lap traffic right here. He just needs to be careful. You got a good lead. Just get by one, ease by him. They won't let you by through the corner. Just back off. You'll get him on the next straightaway. Plenty of time, plenty of room.
It's Brad Baker in the 28 car, just ahead of him.
And he's doing his job too. I mean, he's still on the lead lap in 17th position. He's trying to stay on the lead lap. So he's doing what he should do, but he just needs to be careful as well with the leader.
There's Scott Riggs' wife.
Well, he's hung in some heavy traffic right now. We'll see what the interval next time they come by. We'll see what it ends up. Still holding it just a little over 3 seconds.
Butch Miller in the 75 just ahead. Kevin Grubb in the 54. Just trying to stay out of trouble.
Kevin Grubb in the 54 car right now. He's still on the lead lap.
Listed as 16th. As Riggs goes by Butch Miller.
2 laps to go. 2 more times. Got some clean racetrack now. Load that thing down in there. Just be smooth with it.
Scott Riggs trying to become the 95th different winner in NASCAR Busch Series history.
Right now the lead's down to 2.5 seconds. Next time by we'll see a white flag. Bail lap coming, Steve.
White flag in the air.
21 cars out of gas coming to the white flag. Jay Saunders out of fuel. Loses 2 or 3 positions. He'll never make it back around.
And his crew chief Butch Hilton said they were going to be a lap short.
And he wasn't far from it.
Meanwhile, Scott Riggs on the backstretch. He won here last year in the Truck Series. 5 finishes of 9th or better and 7 starts this year. Here he comes off 4. Scott Riggs will win the Pepsi 300 here at the Nashville Superspeedway.
Jack Sprague finished 2nd. Bobby Hamilton Jr., what a comeback. Finishes 3rd. Scott Wimmer in 4th. Jason Keller 5th. Randall DeJoy in 6th.
So teammates Scott Riggs and Jason Keller finished 1st and 5th. As Scott Riggs' wife, she may not be able to believe it, Larry. All right, we're going to take a quick break and come back with a victorious Scott Riggs here at the Nashville Superspeedway. You're watching Busch Series Racing on FX. And Scott Riggs may have won his very first NASCAR Busch Series race, but Larry Mack, he does a burnout like a veteran.
Boy, Jeff Green, hey, I thought he was the king of burnouts in this 10 car, but Scott Riggs did a well of a job as well.
A burnout that John Force would be proud of.
Boy, every win is special, but there's nothing special like that first one.
Scott Riggs, in just his 7th career start, wins his first NASCAR Busch Series race. Matt Yoakum is in victory lane. Take it away, Matt.
Well, this young man's going to climb out a first-time winner in the NASCAR Busch Series. Jumps up on the door. It's the firework. Oh, here we go. The Gatorade shower. Even gets his lovely pregnant wife, Jay. Well, Scott, congratulations.
Man, it's awesome. Got to tell all the guys, though, you know, we stumbled a little bit in the pits there. Had some lug nuts fall off, and knew we had a good car, and those boys never gave up, man. And Harold Holly, he's the man. He sat down last night, figured out exactly what this car needed, what the difference was. Guys did a great job, and got to thank a lot of people. My pregnant wife for putting up with me all this time. Of course, Nestle, Toll House, Juicy Juice, Coffee Mate, Nestle, all those guys. Got to thank Greg Pollux, too. He had faith in a rookie, didn't know who I was or what we could do, and man, he had faith.
There was a lot of pressure taking over this ride. 13 wins in 3 years.
Yeah, you know, these guys are used to winning 6 races a year, 5 or 6 races a year, and you know, I'm hungry to get one too, and now we finally got one. That's awesome. We're gonna keep on doing it. But this is the man right here.
That's the man.
This is the man right here. That's my long lost brother that I never had right there. But all the guys did an awesome job, and got to thank my family for putting up with me, and my dad for supporting me from the very beginning, and all the people back home that's pulling for me, and just all the people that helped me in the past that had faith in me.
A dream come true. He takes us forward to victory lane, becoming the 5th first-time series winner in the last 13 months. To Mark Garrow.
Well, the runner-up for the second week in a row, Jack Sprague, he's able to force a smile. He had an awful good race car. How disappointed are you didn't win?
Well, it kind of like last week, 50-50. I mean, these guys are getting so good at getting these cars where we need to get them. And, man, it's been, what, 6 races, maybe 7, and we're close. So, man, the learning curve has been a lot faster than I thought it would be. The Net Zero Chevrolet is awesome. And clean air, it was unbelievable. It was by far the fastest car on the racetrack. But when I got behind, you know, like everybody else, the car would aero push. And Keller and myself kept swapping the lead back and forth. And we just got snookered. You know, they took 2 tires, we took 4, come out 10th, and had to go back, drive back to 2nd or 3rd there. It was just hard to do.
One thing he can smile about, he's the new point leader of the Busch Series. Steve?
All right, thanks a lot, Mark. Take a look at the results from today's race. A lot of drivers who had their best career finish. Bobby Hamilton 3rd, McMurray 7th, Kerry Earnhardt 8th, Stacy Compton 9th, all career best finishes.
Look at Tim Sauter finishing in 10th, and there you see Jay Sauter finishes in 15th, 1 lap down. Even though he was pushed across the start-finish line by his brother, you cannot receive assistance on the white flag lap.
All 3 Sauters in the top 15.
Casey Mears ends up 23rd after a good run, 2 laps down.
Yeah, he ran as high as 6th today, Larry. Casey Mears did in that 66.
Good run for him. Jason Schuler, he was in the top 10 and ends up falling out of the race.
Let's take a look at our new point standings. We've said several times today, Jeff Green came in here as the points leader, but he was not in today's race. How about Jack Sprague, your new points leader?
He was right there on the heels of Jeff Green. There you see Greg Biffle took a big hit. He came in here 3rd and goes back to 6th. So a lot of swapping there in the Busch Series top 10 points.
Johnny Sauter drops from 10th to 11th. Well, NASCAR racing across the Fox networks continues next on FX with Winston Cup practice from Martinsville. On Sunday, start your race day with NASCAR This Morning, presented by Smirnoff Ice on Fox Sports Net, followed by Winston Cup Racing, presented by Yamaha on FX. Then get the full wrap-up of all the day's action and Elliott Sadler's weekend with NASCAR Victory Lane All Access on Fox Sports Net. Don't miss a single week of NASCAR on FX. So Scott Riggs wins his very first. Oh, there's the Gibson guitar.
I wonder if he can play that thing.
I don't think it matters.
It don't matter right now.
Trophy case.
Signifying you have won at Nashville Music City, USA.
Well, great job today by Scott Riggs. Jack Sprague finishes 2nd. Scott Riggs gets to enjoy the spoils of victory.
And Harold Holly in that group, again, enjoying some great years with Jeff Green, winning races, winning championships. But you know what? They proved you put a good race car driver in that car. I'm sure they missed Jeff Green, did a great job, but they're back. They're back in winner's circle.
Well, Larry, want to thank Matt Yoakum, Mark Garrow. Great job on pit road. Also want to thank Pam Miller, our producer, Barry Landis, the pit producer. Marvin Kale was the technical producer. Associate directors Derek Manning and Jim Bruska. Broadcast associate Eric Billigmeyer. The coordinating producer of NASCAR on Fox is Richie Zions. The Z coordinating director is Artie Kempner. Senior producer Bill Brown. Executive producers of Fox Sports Ed Gorin and David Hill. For the entire Fox Racing team, Steve Burns saying thanks for being with us. Practice coming up next from Martinsville.
Looking for his first
first for a win.